welcome. I'm MC Toon, worst rapper in the world, and I have with me, hold on. Oh, I have Rhetoric, and a Jared from AT2 Productions. You guys could say hi.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Although I do have to say, MC Toon, have you heard Red try to rap?
No, but I'm willing to listen.
Careful what you wish for.
Really, dude? Really?
What?
Again, you know who you're around, Red. Did you expect any less? Especially knowing what MC Toon just had to deal with.
Do I have to though? And why is this even a thing? Why is rap even a thing in this conversation?
Well, MC Toon brought it up, and you have a history of being horrendous at it, so kind of just naturally comes up.
I don't think I can rap because I swore myself not to curse, and if I rap, there will be plenty of cursing.
I guess that's fair. You only do Eminem.
I do cursing. Look, it's really hard for me to speak without swearing. Don't push your luck.
All right. I think I have everything set up correctly. And we've got 36 watching now. Sorry, everybody. You had nothing better to do.
Thanks for having such poor standards.
Oh, wait. All right. So, Ancito. Oh, no. Junior says there is a rap connoisseur in the chat. Who's the rap connoisseur? I don't know. All right. Well.
Mr. Unite for the Children seems to be getting started off right with the rewrite to Sir Mix-a-Lot.
Okay.
Like Flat Earth,
cool.
And I Cannot Lie. Marty Moose says, speaking of rappers, is Gleam still coming on the show next week? So I haven't set a time for Gleam. But either next week or the week after, I think, is when he said he's able. So
how long until Awake Souls does video claiming victory? 3, 2, 1, and post. Okay, there it goes.
Yeah,
I once had a thing on Twitter where it was, who do you think won the debate between Sean Hufford and me against Limitless and Awake Souls? 95%. Yeah, I know, Jared. 95% said we won, and they still claim victory. It's great. Yeah, I love the delusional minds of these idiots.
Oh, and the real kicker for that, the reason why that poll was done was because they started their presentation as if, and even put it out as, we are putting this to the jury, who is the viewing public, to decide who actually wins it.
Yep, and the jury has spoken. They lost badly. Basically, there's only so bad a person could do when it comes to presenting their argument to the jury, and the jury has reached a verdict, and they said, "We, the jury, do find the defendants or the prosecution." What were they again? What did they put themselves as the prosecution, right?
Yeah, the Earth was on trial. I think so. Apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, so we, the jury, find the prosecution guilty in that their gene pool could use a little more chlorine.
All right. Well, here's the time for review. Flurf Bingo.
Oh, God.
So let's see here. He said it's hard to wait. Hold on. I'll make it bigger. People need to see that. It's just you two. It's not your faces, fortunately, right? So we got dismissing evidence outright, claims without evidence, quote mining out of context. Incredulity is the free space because that's their main source of evidence. Demanding proof. CGI poorly done flat Earth experiment in the mall there. Claiming, just yelling fake, and then what do we got here? 8 inches per mile squared.
So funny thing with the whole CGI one, they want to claim that, oh, it's all what you're providing is just CGI. We can't accept it. And yet, what was the majority of his presentation?
It was all CGI.
Pot, meat, kettle.
Yep. That was great.
Well, speaking of the CGI thing, that reminds me of a claim that they made against my rocket launch videos, because they claim that that's CGI somehow. It's not like they can just drive to Cape Canaveral and see a launch for themselves. But I recently started live streaming the launches, including the live stream of the most recent Atlas V 551, which launched into the sun and illuminated the gases, showing that our atmosphere is next to a vacuum. I'm not seeing that assertion made anymore. So are they still going to make the claim that my live stream is CGI? Are they going to make the claim that I can, in real time, CGI a rocket launch?
Meanwhile, also adding in the sound and pressure wave at the appropriate timing, not only so it can be heard and recorded, but so people who are there physically with you can experience it.
Yeah. They do know that this is in a public location. They can see it for themselves, unless they want to make the claim later on that their eyes are manufacturing CGI in real time.
No, see, Reg, you have to remember, due to state law, they cannot leave the state without prior approval for reasons.
Oh, I see. Parental supervision. Got it.
So, in chat, who has actually seen in person a rocket launch? Yeah, Jared, have you? Obviously, Reds, you've seen a billion.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's a funny thing you mention that because, we almost committed homicide at the first attempt. Because there was a jackass who decided to encroach into the no-fly zone. What was it? 10 seconds before liftoff?
Yes.
Like, they were getting ready to ignite, and all of a sudden, shut it down. And the bad part is, as I was helping make sure that the cameras were sighted in right, I saw the aircraft lights off to my left, and I was like, that don't look right.
Yeah. Basically, if you go in the no-go zone, they got one of two options: either scramble the jets or shut it down. They chose to shut it down.
Yeah.
Oh, which actually reminds me, Red, that contact that we have for a particular site, they are working out some issues in one of the systems, but there may be a test launch in next month that we could end up at.
I'll be making myself available. So, also, Atheist Rex has seen 9 or 10 launches, although I've never seen an Atheist Rex. Huh. Man, we got to meet up sometime, bro.
Well, keep in mind, his 9 or 10, Rex, you have gone out to Vandenberg for at least one of those, if I remember right, from your videos. So, yeah, he travels even farther than you do for the launches.
Yeah, they're admitting Red is such a badass shill. He can hire all of Pixar's resources for a 3-hour live stream. Nice.
Oh, yeah, Russian vids would claim it's all CGI. All right, so, hey, Willie Merck says for $4.99, Reds, to recreate the base, it would take about 1,000 subwoofers at 60 hertz and at least 150 SPL. Lol. Nice system, guys. So well done. So I've been to a launch. I went to the second from last or third from last shuttle launch down in Florida, and man, it's like if it's CGI, it's great. You can feel the heat on your face. right? Do you? I don't. That's the shuttle. I don't know about Falcon X. Are you close enough, or do you feel that, Reds?
Yeah, but do me a favor, never call it Falcon X again.
Sorry. Sorry. Falcon
Blasphemy.
9. Falcon 9.
They're much better. Okay.
Oh.
Watch yourself, bro.
Yes.
That triggers me. So, there's a thing that you can get called Field of Heat, and Field of Heat gets you to within 3 miles of 39A, which is the launch site that SpaceX launches the Falcon Heavy, and also the crewed version of the Dragon spacecraft on their Falcon 9 rocket. We went to the first ever demo flight of the Dragon V2 crew capsule. And yeah, I would say you could definitely feel the temperature kind of rise just a little bit. Now, I don't know if that's just a trick of the senses, because your senses are just overwhelmed at that point. I mean, there's this big glowing flame of awesomeness in the sky, and it coming out the backside of a rocket, while your ears are just being shattered by sound. But I think you can feel it. I mean, that's why they call it Field of Heat.
Wow. Tommy Gronfeld is asking, who said live tennis was on TV was CGI? That's Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, right?
Yeah, the same guy that says the sun is an interdimensional portal.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that.
Yeah. We think he might be on some stuff, so just take everything he says with a grain of salt.
Yep. Oh my goodness. The chat is not working again. You know what? Here, I'll fix it. I'll just make it go away. There. The chat is fixed. It happened last week too. For some reason it it didn't. I don't know why. It didn't work when in the second show. So why do they launch from a different one for Crew Dragon?
Because of the supporting infrastructure. There is no such support at their other launch sites.
For them to get in and out. Yeah, okay.
Correct.
Why wouldn't they just pretend gravity doesn't exist for a while and float up?
For the same exact reason, they can't just go out into space and then wait for the moon to get to them in 4 hours.
Oh, who said that? That was so...
Jeranism.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I listened to your interview with BM Furball, and my goodness.
That was, if you guys want to see that, that's in Jeranism Flat Wrong Part 3. Yeah, he actually said, why don't your silly spaceships just go out into space and then wait for the moon to come to you? Because inertia is a thing. It doesn't just stop being a thing when you get out into space.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Tommy's saying, I just need to click the blue thing, but Tommy, I can't click it in OBS. It doesn't work that way. So Pate Laros, congrats on a glorious win, though. That wasn't even a debate just now. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and I was sad to find out that you created Jeranism. What?
Yeah.
Like, all right, my friend has a DeLorean. I'm gonna go have to borrow it, and make you busy that day or something to fix it, right? Then I'll come back to the future. Sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to go back in time and be like, look, just stop.
Don't.
Just don't. Just walk away. Just smile and wave, boys. Just smile and wave.
Huh. Well, so I put in a little bit of time to ruin his map, and I don't think he appreciated it.
Yeah, he didn't appreciate it the first time. But his map just doesn't comport with
Oh,
reality, and that's what we said. You need to bring a map that comports with reality, and part of comporting with reality is that your map has the capability of making legitimate predictions. And unfortunately, his map has a Pac-Man son. Waka 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 waka, and to the other side of the map, waka waka waka. Sorry, dude, that's not reality.
Yeah.
Not even close.
James Collins says, while you're back there, invest in Bitcoin. Funny thing, I did have on my I think 50 Bitcoin I mined on computer, and then I bought 6 ounces of silver with it back when they weren't worth anything. So yeah, James Collins. I would instead I would tell myself, don't sell. Sell at 15,000. So Earth is seriously flat. Can either of you? He has a super chat. Can either of you do a great Antonio Banderas accent?
I can do the everyone is evil except for me accent.
That's not quite it. All right, I'll do it without the accent. Earth is seriously flat. Says test demonic spinning balls indoctrination. J Globe KE. So test it. We did, and it worked well. And Earth is seriously flat. I don't know about you, you two, but I think he's like my favorite flat earther. If I was gonna hang out with one,
You have a favorite?
yeah, I'd want to go and I know he would salsa dance like a master.
Wait a minute. We can. Jared, is that legal? Can we have a favorite flat earther?
You can. It's okay.
You know what? I will give Earth is seriously flat credit for one thing. He financially supports both sides. Because if you notice, he is the only claimed flat earther I have seen actually give super chats to our side of the discussion.
I saw what's his name has given you some money there, Reds. Mind of God.
Oh,
He's
Okay.
giving you some money.
please don't.
Yeah,
I feel dirty.
I'm not sure if he would count.
There's questions out there on whether or not he's a Poe. Personally, I think he's a Poe.
Really? If he is,
I mean-
he's a good one.
Poe's Law? I mean, it's hard to tell at this point.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the other thing to keep in mind with that. After his first set of interactions with those of us in discussion on Non Sequitur and a couple other channels, he was trying so hard to be considered for Red's award.
Really?
Yeah, he was trying so hard to get nominated for it for last year's.
Yeah.
He's
It
not-
was
he's not
it
that
was
good.
his
He's-
purpose. Yeah.
I mean,
But
Reds, the competition this year is aggressive, right? Like, have you seen that guy? He did 20 videos on me. Everyone's saying the same thing about the compasses, and he's not making a point.
Dude, I gotta tell you, the competition this year.
Oh,
There are words that I would like to use that you're not going to allow me to use, and I just want to say, because of that, it's hard for me to describe the type
Yeah,
of competition we have this year.
get into your your inner thespian and make up some new phrases or something. All right, Earth is seriously flat again for $2. You have to present both sides flat or whatever.
How about this? How about you come into a hangout and try to back up your assertion that the Earth is seriously flat?
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I was on with him, and he just did a video of cymatics. That was his best evidence. It wasn't really evidence. It's like this happens, therefore that's how it happens. It doesn't. Geistview can't join because he doesn't have his earbuds. That's too bad.
The question revolves around a single issue, and that's the issue of geometry. Knowing the geometry of your planet will hint at certain consequences of that geometry. So what you do is you go out into the real world and then you make observations. Then you see which model best comports with the observations that you've made. Which model best predicts the observations that you have observed. And when you look at the geometric facts and the geometric consequences of certain models, you see that the globe is the only model that holds any sort of water, quite literally. So if this guy who named himself the Earth is seriously flat thinks the Earth is seriously flat, then he must have similar observations, similar mathematics or predictions that can be explained by whatever flat Earth model he wishes to assert. I would like to hear that, but here's my claim. I claim he won't be able to do it without even talking to the guy.
Yeah. He says sure, he wants to join.
Bring him on.
Go ahead and give him the link.
All right. I will send you an email because I have your email address. And I have the, let's see, the Hangouts. There it is. The meets. We have the
Geometry
meets.
is boring. Making up stuff is fun.
You know, Bill, I cannot disagree with that at times.
Dude, Bill is on point tonight. Let's see, somebody. Yeah, Riley's got his paper. That he might seal the deal with that. I gotta read that.
Have you been given the link to it yet?
No.
Okay.
I wanna see it.
In a moment, I will send it to you over Discord. However, little bit of an announcement for those who are not already subscribed to Geostreber's channel. We are actually going to be covering this release tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern.
All right. I won't spill the beans. So, James Collin, $2.99. Wait, there is a real world? No, say it ain't so. Yes. You can actually, like, where you're stuck with the laws of physics instead of just letting light travel wherever you want it to go and make up explanations that...
Do we really need to get into hard solipsism on this stream? Let's not.
Yes.
I really don't want to talk about philosophy right now. I want to talk about geometry.
I was going to say something... Oh, somebody said he had chatted with Ian McLean. Ian McIan, is that it? I've talked to Mind of God personally in a private hangout or 5. He is 100% a Poe. See, I interviewed him back in like February, and
I'm sorry.
we had a decent talk. I kind of liked him, and then recently he's just started like insulting me. So he is. I have 2 of his accounts blocked on my channel, and that's about it. I have a couple others, but probably just delete them because I don't like to leave people deleted on my channel unless they're really deserving it. And so he gets in, he starts insulting and stuff. So get out.
Yeah. I just stopped giving him any amount of my time.
Junior, as a subwoofer box builder, I use geometry and algebra. I built my own subwoofer as well. It's a folded horn. It resonates at 25 hertz. It's ridiculous. It's 4 feet long, 2 feet wide, 2.5 feet tall.
Wow, it's a lot of numbers. It's almost as if you can use math to accurately describe reality and also use it to make predictions to see which model best comports with reality.
That's right. And anyway, it's crazy loud at 25 hertz. It's not like I have to use not a compressor, a signal processor to tune everything because it's not flat. Right?
Hey, how are you,
Not
MC
flat.
Toon?
I'm good, buddy.
You look great, man. Great show, man. I enjoy your show.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Well, we got Reds here. And
Fantastic.
Yippee.
let's see. I don't
So,
don't sound too.
What do you think the best model is? A model you need a map that you could navigate everywhere and never get lost on your beautiful stationary flat dirt, right?
Right. Look at this. You could use this to navigate. Oh, over behind my shoulder. Here.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah.
we have wonderful nautical charts
Right here.
that
Beautiful.
people use on a very regular basis, and they don't get lost. But the problem is that those were not made from a flat origin. They were actually made from a globe.
Allegedly.
I would like to see you
But
navigate
I
anywhere
have
on
a
the
better
planet.
map. I have a better map for you, better charts than that.
So you have better charts than those that actually kept me on the path I was supposed to be when I was sailing the Pacific?
Hey, have you ever heard of Pangea?
The continent from way in the past.
Correct. That means
What a-
everything changes, right? How would you
Yes.
like to have? How would you like to have a map that never changes?
Seeing as how after a measurable amount of time it would no longer be representative of reality, no thank you.
No. How about a perpetual map? What if you were to memorize the path of all the stars, and you follow the stars, and you never get lost? I guarantee you that.
Are you going
That's
towards
a
the
real
ast-
map.
are you going towards the astrolabe?
Yes.
So have you actually looked at any of the historic astronomical almanacs?
Correct. They're cycles. They're not an expanding universe. Everything repeats.
So it doesn't stay the same. It actually does have a change that you would
It's
have
the
to
cycle,
address.
like a song. Have you ever seen a song where you have to repeat the same
Not every song does that, though.
songs? Well, but it's repeatable. You don't just play it, but you repeat. So everything gets repeated, and that's where we are on. It's more like music, the vibrations, resonance, sematics. That's what you see.
Just the refrain gets repeated, but the verses actually do change. So even in a
Right, you're
song,
right.
your analogy fails.
But you see repetitions. For example, let's say when you sing, "It's a small world after all, under the dome firmament. It's a small
Yeah,
world."
firmament was a bad translation. You should
Even
really
Disneyland
stop
have a
with that
dome on
one.
there. Even the logo of Disneyland have a beautiful dome right there with the castle wanting to reach the dome.
Ceilings are good to have when you want to keep things, outside of weather patterns, especially in an area that's known for getting how much rain annually there, Red?
Quite a lot. By the way, are you seriously going to go to Disney World to try and justify your flat Earth? Because
Right. Picture
because
that. I
you
just
do
want
know
you to
that
understand that.
you do know that Disney World makes billions of dollars telling fictional stories, right? Are you really going to go to them as some sort of authority
Well,
on
have
what?
you ever seen? Did you know that they were teaming up to explain NASA with Disneyland, and they help them. They hire a lot of Disneyland artists to depict what the universe looked like in the 50s. You know that, right?
Okay, so what's your point? Why are you using Disneyland as some sort of authority when you can make the observations yourself?
No. The thing is that the whole thing is a joke. The whole spinning balls, the indoctrination. My feeling is, I think, is just for the people. For example, the military have their own maps, their own timekeeping, and they use the Mercator projection, and they have a different way of dealing with their own internal issues.
I can't
For
help but
us,
notice that you.
they let us have the civilian version, which they can play their own false flags
I
and
can't
tell
help
us
but notice that you still haven't answered my question.
they can tell us, for example, what we know now is only within 75 degrees north to zero or 75 south to zero. They have containment. This is a containment. This is more like a military operation where they're giving us
Hang on. Did you just
GMOs,
hang on?
chemtrails under
Did-
this domain.
Dude, do you know what a non sequitur is?
Yes, there's no
Okay,
answer.
then
I'm not
stop.
giving you answer. Yeah, but I'm just
Then
giving you. I'm establishing myself for you to have because this is very complicated, and I'm trying to put it to you in a nutshell.
I'm asking you a very simple question that is a nutshelled question. So I will ask again. Why go to any authority, whether it's NASA, whether wait a minute, I got one. Whether it's NASA or Disneyland or Hollywood for that matter, why go to any authority? Why not
Yeah, no,
why
no,
not
no, no.
do
For
why not
example, if I
do
ask you,
your own observations as to what the
let me ask
geometric
you,
fact of our
right?
world
Let's
is?
say on your own observation, let's say to Polaris, let's say if you were to make a beautiful observation or a beautiful stationary
Very beautiful
Polaris
observation.
that happened to be on top of a magnetic pole, all right? When you make that observation, how big you think that star is, or how far away?
I wouldn't be making such an observation because, sir, I know that how big the star is irrelevant to the shape of the Earth. But its altitude angle and your location on the Earth can tell you about the geometric shape of our planet. See, it's kind of a beautiful thing where you ignore the irrelevancies that have nothing to do with answering the question that you have started and wanted to answer.
I'm answering your question right now.
Oh, I don't
What was
think
your
you are.
specific question?
Do you know the geometric facts that make Polaris important to answering the question on what shape the Earth
Of
is?
course, yes, of course. But you're telling me that basic trigonometry tell us that it's about 3,000 miles high. But you're telling me that the actually
I said no such thing, actually.
astronomers
I said no such thing,
astronomers are
actually.
actually claiming that that is actually what 432 light years away.
I love the non sequitur. It's extremely hot, but as much as I would love to play the game of non sequiturs, we're trying to answer a specific question: the geometry of our planets. And did you know, dear friend, that without knowing how far away Polaris is,
I'm sorry,
you
brother,
can
but there's
use
no other planets. You never been in one. We never gone there.
it's a lovely non sequitur. It is lovely. It's absolutely beautiful non sequitur.
They're
But
called luminaries. We know what
did you
happened.
know
I
that
know
you can
exact. I know all
use?
your doctrine
Yeah, but
from
did you know
top
that
to
you can
bottom.
use those illuminaries
Wait, can I
to
The
can I
determine
interrupt for a
how?
second?
Absolutely.
Willie Merck for $1.99 says we're all pregnant now. Red, thanks. Back to you.
Your fault for not wearing protection. But anyway, so did you know that you can use the bodies in the sky, the illuminaries as you call them, to determine the geometric shape of the planet that is beneath your feet? And you can do that
Of course,
by
yes,
a
yes.
simple changing of your location and finding out where
Right,
those
yeah,
illuminaries are in the sky. And did you know
right.
that those measurements only make sense on a curved surface? And if you try to apply those measurements to a flat surface, you have an inherent contradiction?
Yeah, I heard that argument before. But
Yeah,
keep in
but you
mind, for
haven't
You
example,
actually
have
done
you
it.
have to. You
yes,
can't
I
just say you
that.
heard it.
For example, you when especially let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. There are things that astronomers give you that you could double check. For example, they tell you that the sun and the moon are almost the same size by degrees, 50.54 degrees and 0.52 degrees, or 31 arc minutes or 32 arc minutes. They're telling you right there they're almost the same size, and that's why the lunar eclipses are happening. All right. On the other hand, they tell you that they each one have an astronomical hypothetical distance that they have been changing it. For example, they're giving you different distances of the sun throughout the years.
Totally
Uh,
irrelevant.
and even Polaris, they just changed the distance of Polaris because it's all hypothetical.
And
You
totally
need
irrelevant
you
still.
need faith because this you're worshiping a doctrine. It's not real because when you really go to the nuts and bolts, it's all hypothetical. You cannot
Which
never
the
verify the
nuts and
astronomical
bolts
assumptions,
that you are
and
bringing
that
up
is the
are non
but
sequitur.
again, but the gravity of the situation here is that you're gonna indoctrinate your children thinking that they found a planet 200 light years away, and they're
Why
gonna
are
put them to
you
sleep
bringing up non sequiturs? It's almost as if you can't
because that's the
actually
gravity of the
address.
situation. I'm giving
It's
you a
like you can't
warning. It's a
address the
red
actual arguments that's being discussed, and you
because
have to
the
constantly
argument.
bring up non sequiturs to try and make it seem like
Yes,
you have
no, no,
a
no,
legitimate leg
because
to
this is
stand
a
on.
warning
It
for
is
you,
quite
brothers.
adorable, I must
Excuse
say.
me. Can I
But
can
did
I
you
interrupt
know
again?
This
that
is
it
a
doesn't
rescue. I'm
matter
trying to
what
say
non
this
sequiturs you
grabs
bring up?
children, brother.
Because you can
Hold on.
easily
Reds,
confirm the
Reds.
shape of the planet by doing these simple
Yes,
geometric
yes.
observations.
I tell you why. I tell you why. Listen to me 1 minute, okay?
Wait.
And
Before
it
you
will
do
just
that,
basically.
can I say one thing?
Okay.
The
Sure,
Athens
go ahead,
619 for $5 says planets are not luminaries since lights can't have shadows cast on them. And then Travis C says, "How many minutes of common sense will $10 buy me?" Back to you.
That just depends on how long you give me time to speak uninterrupted.
No, the right answer is not enough.
Anyway,
It's like
we
this.
have
If you are at the North Pole and you're looking at the North Celestial Point, that
okay.
point will be straight up and down,
At what
90
latitude?
degrees.
At what latitude?
Did
90
I
degrees?
did I not
Okay.
just say the North Pole, dude? Do try to
Okay,
keep up.
90
So
degrees. Okay.
if you're at the equator, that North Celestial Point will be at 0 degrees, right at the horizon. And did you know that if you were to measure those points in between, that you will find a geometric shape, and that shape is that of a curved? It's almost as if the Earth isn't flat, based on simple observations that we can do.
Okay, let me ask you this question. A very simple one. How much of an object that is 30 miles away you could see if the object is a mile high?
30 miles away and a mile
Let
high.
you know, yeah, in a 1 year observation of that object. 30 miles away, 1 mile high, 1 year observation, so you'll see different weather patterns. Sometimes you see only a mile away, sometimes you see 2 miles away, sometimes you see the whole thing. Where the curvature formula kicks in?
The curvature formula does not come up in that type of hypothetical. Your hypothetical
No,
is
no,
malformed.
every day you see a different range, depending how far you can see. You know, depending on the atmospheric weather patterns, it
Not
doesn't matter.
quite, because
Yes,
irrelevant to the
every day you
atmospheric
see
patterns,
different.
I will never see the bottom of Tampa Bay from the north side of the Skyway Bridge. Can you explain why that is if the Earth is
You will never
flat?
see it. You will never see it
Never.
because it's
Never.
aperture, brother. It's aperture. Well, how about
Aperture?
if we start? Yes, for
So I
example,
guess
if
simply
you
zooming
want
in more is not going to bring it back,
no, no,
right?
no, it's not because it's not zooming in. It's the aperture. You need a bigger lens.
Oh,
The
bigger
bigger
lens. So a
diameter.
P1000 isn't good enough? How big of a
No,
lens
of
do I
course
need?
not. Of course not. You know
Should I bring
what the
the
word
LX200
aperture?
telescope out? What if we brought something like the
Let's say
James Webb
we
Space?
take one of those Vatican telescopes, like for example the Luciferian telescope that they have, and just point it at 90 degrees, just straight out. Just see how far we can see with the badass. Instead of pointing to our beautiful dome firmament, why don't we just try point it just straight ahead?
Well, when I'm not
Let's just try
seeing...
that. That'll be easy. If you know anybody, any of your friends that know personally those priests, maniacs that are out there loose.
I mean, when
preaching,
I'm not using the P1000 to film rockets smashing through the non-existent dome, I think I can get my hands on a telescope to see the curvature of the
Anyway,
Earth in action.
I think you should go to Flat Earth 101 and become an activist. They have all the tools for you to get and show people how the spinning world works and
I
how the
think you
flat Earth works
should learn what a non
and
sequitur
teach
is and learn
people.
how not to commit it.
This is an open conversation,
Yeah,
and I
an
can
open
say whatever I
conversation
want.
where I can call you out for bringing up non sequiturs.
But that doesn't bring the curvaison, does it? That doesn't bring you the answer. Also, how do you verify the distance between us and Polaris?
Oh
You
no,
can't do that either because you need
my
faith.
assertions have nothing to do with measuring the distance to Polaris. It's to do with the
Yes,
geometric
because it's
facts of our
safe. No,
planets. And our planet is round, good sir, which can easily be demonstrated by everyone
the
around
whole
us.
doctrine. You're just swallowing the whole doctrine. I'm sorry.
Which is
And
why
that's
I did
part
it
of
myself.
the
I
faith.
didn't
You
have
need
to go to
faith.
anybody.
Okay,
I just
well,
decided to do it myself.
look,
And
this
that's
is what's gonna
exactly what I
happen.
did.
Right. Your homework is for you to learn how to verify the distance from here to Polaris, and then we'll talk more.
I decided to do my
Uh-oh.
homework on something else, which was the shape of the Earth.
So, Tommy,
Oh, that was that
leave?
was amazing.
Oh, he did.
He
Okay.
dropped out.
All right.
How many people in the live chat are actually pregnant right now?
Yeah, one guy. I think we scared off somebody was Hugh Janis. It disturbed him too much. So.
Atheist Rex is like, my God, make it stop.
All right, so here's the question to the panel and the audience. Do you want to hear from Mind of God?
Only if I'm allowed to use my Batman voice next.
I second that.
Let's hear your Batman voice first. You have to audition it.
I have to. Okay. What if I did my Rain Campbell voice instead?
Well, audition. Come on, let's hear.
I have to audition,
Oh.
but then it wouldn't be a surprise.
All right. You use whatever voice you want. The Athens 619 says, with as many non-sex he's done, I'm surprised Kyle isn't here. Yeah, if you do 3 non sequiturs in a row, does Kyle appear?
Only 95% of the time.
Oh, that's great. All right, well,
Funny.
Mind of God, I sent it. So.
Oh no! What have you done?
So the background. I had a great conversation with him. Really liked him. When I interviewed him back in whenever, and for some reason he started just jumping in and saying that I'm paid by the government, like I'm an agent of some sort, like it's a joke. This is you can't see it. Hold on. The right. It didn't transition. Come on. There we go. This is all a joke, right? Oh, I cannot do it. There. That's a joke. Oh, sorry. I got on the mug too. I'm not actually paid by the government, so anyway, and so he started making a bunch of accusations. I'm like, quit it, and emailed him, and he kept doing it, and I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna ban you. So there's not many people banned, and he's in here now. So Mind of God. What's it? Oh, hold on. Let me do this. RH Revet for $5 says, last time I listened to a video like this, I got hypnotized into thinking I was a giant chicken. Got to read those descriptions carefully, people. All right, Mind of God, how you doing?
Dude, why are you guys blocking me, man? What's up?
Well, I gave a short description of why. It just running around saying you're a Satanist and you're a paid by the government shill or whatever. Like, all right, that's enough.
But one point I have to make on that I made last night talking to George and them, it's like, why don't you guys accuse us of that? Ever?
Freedom Bull for $5 says, "Is this the longest that Reds has ever gone without swearing?"
Probably.
I mean, I do sleep sometimes.
But MC,
So,
you guys
why
should be
don't-
accusing us of being Satanists.
Why?
Why?
We're
If
accusing
we're
you of just being misled and being wrong.
no, if we're flattening out the Earth, let's say, and we're doing it to be stupid, willfully ignorant, make money. Maybe it's a financial scheme. We should be called out. I'm talking about everybody.
I don't think
Where
you
is
know. I don't think you know what a Satanist actually is, for one, and two. What does that have to do with the demonstrably false information that keeps coming from your mouths?
No, I'm saying you should call us. You should call us proportional to what is demonstrably false coming out of our mouth. If we're
Again, why use something that has zero to do with the topic?
well, wouldn't you say even somebody like Earth is seriously flat talking about bombarding children's website with flat Earth, wouldn't you think that's a satanic thing to do if it's false?
No.
No.
Brainwash kids.
No, you need to actually look at what Satanism is. For one, again, I will say it a third time. You need to actually look into what Satanism actually is.
Would there be any Satanist flat earthers? They'd
I
all
don't
be
know.
ball earthers.
I don't know.
I don't know, because stupidity knows no bounds or no limits of religious fervor.
If there are any Satanist flat earthers out there, tweet at me at Rhetoric, Twitter.
Well, no, you're claiming to know what a Satanist is. I'm asking you. You must know some or know the Church of Satan. I want to know what is their understanding of our surroundings. You're claiming to know.
The ones
You're
that
assuming
I
you're all
have,
ball
the
earthers.
ones that I have interacted with, do not deny established science.
Right, correct. So how isn't that not it? Okay, so are you saying that ball earthers are a subset of Satanism, or Satanists are a subset of ball earth?
I'm saying they are not mutually exclusive. I'm saying that one has no inherent effect on the other.
We haven't seen one that is not a ball earther. That's
Just because you haven't doesn't mean they don't exist. Just because I haven't doesn't mean that the person isn't out there. To claim a blanket like that is an idiotic statement and an idiotic stance to hold. It's actually quite an egotistical one too, which coming from you doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, we're the antis raised. I mean, the Bible's on the table for us. So that's I don't know anything about awake souls, but
good for you. I don't care about mythology.
yeah, that's fair enough. But I'm just saying, for people like awake souls, when we see the world through the Bible, we have to start categorizing. It's
Yeah,
just the way it is.
but you said before that again, and I'm speaking as if you aren't a Poe, which by the way I don't believe for a second. Just making that clear. But you said over and over again that
define a Poe for everybody, just so we're 100% clear what that is.
a person who pretends to be something that they aren't. So anyway,
for what reason? Am I doing it for a financial reason? Am I bored?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Reason is irrelevant to the definition of Poe. Anyway, as I was saying before I was interrupted. Hang on, hang on. I got a point to make.
Right.
I got a point to make. You said over and over again that the Bible lies, God lies all the time. So, like you said, you look at things through the Bible, but yet you yourself said in the past that you can't really know what's true or not through the Bible and through God's word, because as you said, God lies.
I didn't say he lies. I said he sends delusions. That's
lying.
Well, no, he's sending deceptions like the ball earth.
Deception is lying.
Deception is lying, dude.
But it's okay. Yeah, I mean,
you can change the word.
Sure.
The intent and the action is the same.
Sure. So the hierarchy, since I don't know if you've been around people who understand the Bible, Toon doesn't. The Heavenly Father is the one who created Jesus Christ and Satan and every spirit beneath him. So it is him at the top who's orchestrating every deception that's ever existed throughout human history. So Jesus Christ, for example, Jesus Christ has not said a lie. He is not a liar. Nothing he said was a lie when he was here on earth. But yes, the Heavenly Father is the author, the architect of every.
It's weird because the Bible disagrees with you there.
No, that's what it states.
No, it doesn't.
But what verse are you referencing? Don't say Psalms either.
No, I'm saying Romans chapter 3, verse 4. Let God's words be true, and every man a liar.
Yes.
So through that, so you're claiming that the Heavenly Father.
Right. Yeah, he's honest about the fact that he creates the deceptions. What's dishonest? He's telling us in many, many places that he architected the ball earth deception. He architected the mark of the beast, which is coming. Everything. He came up with it. It's his idea. It's brilliant. Look how he hid the curve in optics.
In being truthful, he cannot make deception.
No,
deception would not be within his nature.
Behind the deception.
Romans chapter 3, verse 4 shows that God cannot be part of any sort of deception because everything that God says is the truth. Like God's word be true and every man a liar. It is the man that is the liar, not God himself.
Right.
You're saying something that's directly contradictory to that.
No, I'm saying if you go up to God and say, did you come up with this deception? He'll say yes.
Then how can we say that his word? How can he say that his own word is true within his own book?
It is true. He's honest
No,
about
no,
the
it's
fact
not.
that he came up
It's
with
not
it.
in that case. You see the contradiction that gets led by this?
No. You're confusing deception and delusions with like a binary thing.
Sending
telling lies,
delusions,
telling the truth.
deceptions is lying.
No,
But
not
then
if
we
you,
have
not if
it
you-
in the Bible that says that God is going to be telling you the truth. So you cannot use the Bible as any sort of authority if you're disagreeing with what the Bible says.
No. He's honest in other places, in many places that he is
Definitely not according
behind
to the
deception.
Bible.
Yeah, no. If you read Romans with respect to every other verse, that's the fact. He is honest about the fact that he is behind this deception, and he's doing it for a particular reason. We don't know the full reason. That's
Yeah.
why we ask you
But
guys. That's why we ask you guys about your background. We know very little about why you guys are here, who pays you, and all that kind of stuff. That's why we're starting to get more hip to that.
Who pays us?
Who pays
Yeah,
us?
we want to know. Dude,
Yeah.
why would you put 33 in your name, dude? Like, just call yourself Toon. Just take the MC out. Like, don't make it so easy
didn't
for us.
put 33 in my name.
Yeah, you did.
I
If you
chose-
follow Rhetoric, you know MC stands for 33.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
hang on.
I don't
Hang on.
care one
But
bit.
did you know that within Russian Vids' name, I was able to use numerology to confirm that he had a sexual relationship with O.J. Simpson?
Ooh.
Let's see a video on that, dude. I want to see it. I'll mirror
Sure
it.
thing.
Legit.
Sure thing. It's on the non sequitur show. I'll send you a link. But yes, he had an intimate sexual relationship with O.J. Simpson. Because did you know that his name, you can actually use numerology to get to 32? What was the number of O.J.'s jersey?
Who's the
Interesting,
person
isn't
in
it?
your community that you can't insult? Russian Vids is like that for us, man. You're just not allowed.
Of
Who's the
course.
guy? Who's the guy
No
or
one
girl in
allowed.
your community? you
I'm
can't
using
insult?
listen. I was able to use numerology. Are you going to deny numerology, the same format that Russian Vids likes to use to make all these wild assertions about
No, I'm
us?
not- I'm
Do
not
you
saying it's
deny
proof
that
that
Russian
MC
Vids
Toon
had
is-
an intimate sexual relationship with O.J. Simpson?
I'm not saying it's proof. I'm like, why would you even poke the bear? Why even go down that road?
By the way, this information has never been stated. I'm going to tell you, just keep this between us. I was also able to use numerology to confirm that Russian Vids was on the bottom.
Ooh,
Jeez.
ouch.
Shout out to Russian Vids, man. He's a hero.
and not a power bottom either.
He wasn't a power bottom either.
Wait. So you idolize someone who would challenge someone to an unmoderated discussion, and then when the other party agrees and says that they have no problem and no hesitation, his response is to then block them, preventing further communication?
Yeah, he blocked me twice.
Yeah, Reds, dude. What was the offer, man? Like,
No. This wasn't to Reds. This
Yeah.
was to me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the rocket in Florida and all that.
Oh no, that's a completely different thing. And it wasn't the rocket launch in California that Russian Vids was offered. We had people from Team Christians Under New Testament actually offer to pay Russian Vids' entire way to Florida to
Yeah.
witness a rocket launch weeks in advance.
We also
And-
offer to pay for a lap dance.
Well, so the thing was launching, and then how long till it returned? What was the time frame for when?
7 minutes.
Well,
Oh, so how many minutes?
7 minutes.
The booster goes up, it separates, booster comes down and lands.
And that would prove what exactly?
That SpaceX is actually doing what they say they're doing, and would debunk his assertion that what SpaceX is doing is all CGI trickery.
No, I don't think he never said that. He just was.
Yeah,
Yes, he has.
Not
Yes,
all
he
of it. I
has.
think he was just
Yes,
concerned about
yes,
proving
he
that this goes
has.
to like outer space and goes to orbit and stuff like that.
No. He said that SpaceX rockets do not land. SpaceX rockets do not launch. SpaceX rockets do not have a reusable first stage. I invited him to go to Cape Canaveral to see this for
Yeah.
himself, not just once, but twice. One for Falcon 9 and the other for Falcon Heavy, so that he could see this not once, but twice. The second
Yeah.
one being the most awesome in that it was a Falcon Heavy, and he could see 2 boosters actually making the landing. He was offered this during the second ever flight of the Falcon Heavy. He was offered this for the commercial resupply mission to the International Space Station, which again was a Falcon 9 rocket. He was again given the offer for the night launch of the Falcon Heavy, and
Yeah.
every single time he said no.
Reds, here you go, dude. I'm gonna prove I'm a nice guy. I'm gonna tell you what you guys have left on the ball Earth. Here you go.
Oh boy.
Bottom up obstruction is still, for me personally, could go either way. And I'm gonna give you this rocket stuff because I don't know much about it. So I would actually say the stuff with the bottom up that people push, and pretty much you and I guess astronomy. What's his name? Or live astronomy.
Let's see what you did there.
Right. Yeah. So astronomy live. Though I would say those two are your most compelling things. So and I don't.
You
And I
also-
don't.
But give me one more thing. Give me one more thing. Will
What's
you
the third?
please? Because I put a lot of work into this numerology thing. Will you at least agree with me that Russian vids is not a power bottom?
I want to see the full video. I want to see the full mathematical treatise on that. I can't
But
co-sign numerology.
you are going to at least give me that little bit of extra, right? You will give me at
Why are you
least
doing that, man? Like
Russian vids had an intimate sexual relationship with O.J. Simpson, and he wasn't a power bottom.
dude, he's a hero, man, in the truth movement. So I won't say anything.
So why does
more
he
than
run
what
from the
he-
truth?
What's that?
If he's such a pillar of the truth movement, why does he run from evidence that's counter to his position that he has no pre-programmed retort for?
And also a lap dance after seeing the evidence for himself.
Well, no,
Paid for.
I'm assuming he has stuff to do. It's not like I don't know if you guys if this year full.
No. He had weeks in advance for this launch that was going to be fully funded for him by other people. All he had to do was put in the request for the days off.
It's a
Which
vacation,
he- which he had-
vacation. I'd be
Yeah.
It was a paid for vacation. And by the way, there's a website called Spaceflight Now. Spaceflight Now, click on the tab that says launch schedule. You can easily schedule this out way in advance. For example, October 17th, Falcon 9, Starlink 1. Will Russian vids make that trip? No, he won't. You want to know why? Because he doesn't want to see the so-called truth that he's supposedly looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, whatever that stuff that's happening, if it's somehow something is going out and relates to something already in orbit or is going in orbit, and you could prove that, that's pretty strong. I don't know.
I did that directly
Yeah,
to
you
Russian
totally did
vids
that.
over a year ago.
No, but we'd have to see we'd have to somehow see the thing actually going and interacting with something in orbit or going in orbit.
We did. Again, I demonstrated this over a year ago to
How
Russian
does
vids.
one see that? That's what
Simple, because here's the thing. Do you know what a commercial resupply mission is?
No, I don't.
Okay, let me explain.
Yeah.
So the Falcon 9 will take off from Cape Canaveral with the Dragon V1 attached to the top of it. That's what goes into orbit. Now, if you're able to see this thing in orbit after it was launched and get it in the right time frame, you could confirm that it actually made it into orbit.
Yeah, how would we do that?
That's exactly what I was able to demonstrate, because that thing's going to the International Space Station. I was able to demonstrate that the International Space Station is traveling at orbital velocity at the altitude that the nameless, faceless they say is actually traveling. And if it were to actually be traveling that fast in Earth's atmosphere, it would be burning up. The fact that it isn't says that it's also traveling in a vacuum. There is no friction slowing it down. So if I'm able to show that, and of course the Dragon is going to the space station, and the space station is confirmed to be in space, then that kind of shoots down the notion that we have never put anything into space, or that rockets aren't doing what the nameless, faceless they say they're doing from the very beginning.
But is it
video on my channel, by the way?
Is it just calculations, or can we actually see what this space station is interacting with this thing, reaching it? Can we actually see that, or is it just numbers that you will tell us that the timing works out?
You can see it. Yeah, you have a more powerful enough telescope. You can see it. You can see not only the Dragon version 2 or the Dragon cargo vehicle. You can also see the Soyuz vehicles. There's also independent amateur astronomers that were capturing the space station when the shuttle was docked to it.
Okay, wait. So walk me through this slowly, because I'm new to this. Let's say Russian Vids is standing there, or somebody representing Flat Earth is standing there. There's something that's taking off.
In this hypothetical, Russian Vids is a power bottom, right?
Let's just say it's me. I don't want to get into those kind of discussions. Let's say I'm standing there. Something is taking off, and it has a unique number or something on it that you're saying goes out into the atmosphere, interacts with the International Space Station, and from the International Space Station cameras or something, I can actually see it interact with it and do something, and then and it's already in orbit, so that would confirm that that thing was going and servicing something in orbit. You're
No,
saying that's possible?
the proof that it's in orbit is a few things. One, its altitude, which a plane cannot reach. Two, its speed, which is impossible within Earth's atmosphere. And also,
no, I'll actually give you that. Let's assume that it's orbiting. That's fine. The thing you're
okay,
just
then
telling,
how
you're
do
telling me
you
the
then how do you
rocket
think
goes
it got
out.
up there? How do you think it got up there? What other piece of technology other than rockets do we know of that have the capability of getting objects to that speed? It's going 4.7 miles per second.
Okay, but no, I thought we were talking about this rocket, like these things that are planned. You said there's a schedule. They go out there and service the ISS in some way, right? That's what that.
Commercial resupply mission.
Right. So yeah, you're saying that this kind of thing happens regularly, where something that is unique and you can see it before it takes off, goes and does something, interacts with the ISS, and you can actually see that interaction. And then what happens to that device after? Like, does it just where does
It
it go?
docks to the space station. It becomes part of the station.
Oh, that's even better. Okay, great. So you're saying we could actually visually see that interaction somehow?
You can also see that with the space shuttle. People have.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's kind of cool. I think something like that's decent. You know, then we'd have to then make sure that that space station is exactly
We
where it
have
is in
confirmation on three things. We have confirmation of launch. We have confirmation of the first stage landing without the second stage attached, and we have confirmation of Dragon orbital insertion, in that they were able to view the Dragon orbiting above head after the launch. There was a video of the Dragon resupply mission, which is CRS-11, passing over Oxfordshire 22 minutes after the launch from the Kennedy Space Center. Oxfordshire is on the other side of the planet, but they were able to look at the time. They knew for a fact that a launch was happening, so they went out and they said, okay, if SpaceX is actually going to put something into orbit, then it has to go over where I am on this planet in Oxfordshire. They were able to see that. And not only were they able to see it, they were also able to visualize the RCS puffs from its directional thrusters while it was in orbit.
No, do we want to actually see the interaction? Like what we actually saw take off up there and like with a camera or something. That's we're not talking about like
But you guys don't
secondary.
but you guys don't trust onboard cameras.
No, I mean it's a start. It's not nothing.
But you guys don't trust them.
No, I mean I'm new to this. I don't know much about this as a proof that things can orbit.
No, you guys quite literally do not trust onboard cameras. Every piece of footage that NASA has ever given you from the entire history of their existence is CGI, according to you guys.
Yeah, if it has a round ball on it, yeah.
Well, of course it's going to, because the Earth is round. So you're going to dismiss it all outright.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if it's real, and we're getting close though. I wouldn't.
No, I do know you will dismiss every piece of onboard footage outright. So the only thing we have left is ground-based observations. And especially from observations from normal everyday people like you and me, who are able to go out there, do the trigonomic observations and make these measurements to determine whether or not it is actually in space and traveling at the speed asserted.
Dude, Reds, we were starting off so well, man. I was trying to give you like an inch and then you're getting very like defensive. I was actually saying, to me, for me personally, this is an area completely unexplored, and I would say a weakness for me personally.
All right, can I hold on just a second here? King Kong Sex Dungeon is asking, and I'm hesitant to ask this. Ask Might of God why he thinks a Holocaust denier is a hero. And
no, we all agreement with Dubé, man. We don't need to talk about that. Yeah, I'm not a Dubé fanboy. Or is he talking about Russian vids?
Russian vids.
Both.
Oh, Russian vids. I don't think Russian vids is a pure out Holocaust denier.
Yes, he is.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm not a Holocaust denier. I know that the narrative is not the way that we're told. 100%. There's no way that many Jewish people died mathematically.
I'm just going to resist responding to that.
That's fine. By the way, conspiracy thinking is asking why I'm not in the chat. That's because MC Toon still hasn't unblocked me, dude.
I'll do that.
That's why I'm here.
Listen up. Behave. All right.
Slow mode is on. Send message every 33 seconds. Well played.
Red, the rocket stuff, I need to maybe there's a way somebody on our side can think,
like, I don't know, maybe accepting my invitation. That would be a good, healthy first step, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that would have been interesting. I definitely trust his opinion. I don't know Russian Vid's personally.
I sure don't, because here's the thing. He was given multiple opportunities to go to Cape Canaveral and see these rocket launches for himself. Every single time he has made every excuse in the book to not go. And we're not talking about launches that were scheduled oh so soon. We're talking about launches that are scheduled months in advance. And if there's delay, no problem. We have a community that'll be more than happy to pay for an extension on his hotel. We were offering to pay the guy a lap dance. Maybe, well, of course, he has to be loyal to OJ, so I can kind of see why he refused that.
Though. Just simply something taking off and landing is not impossible. That doesn't
He
affirm.
has claimed that the entire process is faked and computer generated imagery, and that
enough.
nothing actually happens.
Fair enough. So he's a more skeptical than I am about some of that.
No. He is not skeptical. He is a denialist.
Yes.
Sure.
He actively denies that SpaceX does anything, and that includes landing reusable boosters. I have personally filmed these. He says that my footage is CGI. I'm like, okay, if my footage is CGI, then come down to Florida during a scheduled rocket launch and demonstrate that CGI. Do you want to take a wild guess as to why he hasn't shown up?
Yeah, maybe he realized that he was too strict on that claim. Maybe.
No, because that would involve a little bit of intellectual honesty, which I'm sorry he does not have.
No, I'll give you guys the stuff you're doing because you're diligent with it and I don't know anything about it, and then I'll give you guys bottom up because I would say we've shown that bottom up obstruction can happen over flat surfaces, but that doesn't prove that those images are happening on a flat surface. It's strong evidence against its only curve for sure, but there's still, to me, that's a stalemate. That could go either way because some images support flat, some images support something else blocking.
I like how this had absolutely nothing to do with Russian Vid's claim about SpaceX and Russian Vid's refusal to come down to Florida and see this for himself. You think that if you're championing this guy as a crusader for truth or whatever the rhetoric is, you would think he would want to come down and see a rocket launch for himself. Or does he not want to admit that he was wrong about his assertions, that he was wrong to call my footage and Astronomy Live's footage CGI?
Dude, Reds, would he be able to see you face to face?
Unfortunately, then he can go ahead and deal with the mental scar.
No, but I'm saying you would finally get to see who you are as a person.
Yet another tidbit of this that Russian Vids has been running away from. He has come up with every excuse possible to not take one of these trips.
MC Toon, let me just say this. I apologize in advance, but look, not only would Russian Vids be able to see my face, but I offered to pick him up from the airport on a motorcycle and have him ride bitch.
Yes.
Wow, dude. Maybe that's why he didn't do it, though. That makes sense now.
Look.
Hey, if
he's not loyal to OJ Simpson, there shouldn't be a problem. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think OJ and him are current.
Crazy, man.
So it's more of a side thing.
I have a video, a little loop of a clip of the space shuttle on the ISS.
But guys, stop blocking me off your channel, man. I get offended. If we're wrong, we're wrong, man. Don't get all emotional.
I don't mind that. It's the insults. So you're not blocked anymore. Do you see this? I'm presenting it.
Yeah, we see that.
So there's the shuttle, and I put the link to that in chat. So.
Yeah, man. I mean that I would say that whole area, and I'm not trying to give Red a bigger ego than he has, but that whole area to me is the part that this deception takes on another layer because we're dealing with another level of sophistication. It's not just programming on TV or in movies or our teachers. It's like stuff out there, technology being deployed and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I think just from my own vantage point with what I see happening is that and I think thankfully drones exist. I'm pretty sure this thing will get solved in the next year or two, so you guys don't have to worry too much. But these drones with this high-end GPS built in, they're expensive, but I'm pretty sure that's going to end this thing.
It's
one
been
way or
solved.
So, actually, speaking to that, the GPS system that's used not just on drones, but also aircraft.
Yeah.
Do you know where the antenna is physically located on a commercial aircraft that utilizes GPS for navigational tracking?
No, sir. I don't know that.
Top of the fuselage, slightly back of the center, prior to the vertical stabilizer. So think about that. The antenna is on top of the aircraft, and yet they're getting a GPS location return when they are in flight at 30,000 feet.
Interesting how that works.
I did that myself. Here's an image. Let's see. Oh, you're not seeing. Let me just send it to you. Unless you're watching the stream, you'll see it there.
I mean, I see your point, Jared, but I mean, I mean that you know that's not proof for anything, but I get where you're.
I mean, I tried to. There was one time when I was in Pennsylvania and I was trying to load Pornhub and it just wasn't working because I didn't have any service, but my GPS was working just fine.
So here's a good example. This picture I took over the Yukon Territory, flying back from Anchorage, and you can see on the top of the screen there the GPS coordinates that came in just fine. 60 degrees north and 128.7 degrees west. I had no cell coverage.
I'm a huge fan of GPS. That's why I think it's the thing that will end the debate, because both sides.
How does this happen if it's not from a satellite?
I don't know. I don't know how the backbone works. I trust it as a coordinate system though.
Okay,
for sure.
But
because it's repeatable.
This is over the Yukon Territory. This is over the rural mountains of northern Canada.
Time out. Wasn't your master's in electrical engineering communications technology?
Yes, but I didn't. I mean,
then how the fuck do you not know how satellite communication works?
Dude, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Dude, what class did you take satellite communication in school?
RF communication.
That's right. I behaved myself. Everyone else misbehaved. That's right. Not my fault.
Jared, this is why we're here, man. We did not learn anything related to helio anything throughout our education, and that's
totally not my fault.
Oh no. Now I know you are lying. Because RF communications, especially high altitude RF and how it works, is covered.
Where?
If you cover wireless communications of any type, RF communications, I covered it multiple times, both during my technical training for the U.S. Navy and during the applicable classwork during my own electrical engineering degree.
Dude,
I didn't even go to a master's. I only got a bachelor's in it, and it was covered.
Chill out, dude. Let me pull up the textbook. You can tell me which chapter to go to. So we studied electromagnetic theory by Einen and Einen. So if you pull up that on Google, tell me which chapter we're going to learn about satellites.
Can I bring up something about satellites while we're on it, MC?
Sure.
Einen and Einen. That was our EM textbook.
Do you okay? Do you know about the Hubble Space Telescope?
Who are you talking to?
You.
No, I don't.
Interesting. As Jaron just would say.
The book that we used in undergrad at Western was Engineering Electromagnetics by Umran Einen and his brother Aziz Einen.
I'm still going to make this point, whether you know what it is or not. The Hubble Space Telescope is a telescope that is in space. It's a satellite in orbit. And Astronomy Live went ahead and observed this satellite in orbit. And also, he did something else. He took note of the object that the Hubble Space Telescope was scheduled to observe on the night of his observation. And he was able to confirm that the Hubble Space Telescope that he was seeing through his own telescopeception, was actually looking at the object it was scheduled to be looking at. It's on his video. So we have not only confirmation that satellites exist, but we also have confirmation that satellites are doing the thing that the nameless, faceless they say that they are doing.
Orbiting ball Earth.
Yeah, orbiting ball Earth, doing observations, doing actual science that Russian Vids has never done in his entire life, but instead has engaged in numerology, which, by the way, if you use it just right, you can come to the conclusion that he kind of had a sexual relationship with O.J. Simpson and was not a power bottom.
Let's get back to what Jared was talking about with the satellites, dude.
I don't want to talk about him being a power bottom either.
What course did you take that covered radio propagations? You're in EE. You got an EE in communications technology. Did you or did you not cover wireless RF communications?
I just gave you the textbook, dude. Pull it up. We can look inside. Which chapter?
Oh, jeez.
I just told you the textbook. I took engineering electromagnetics in 2nd and 3rd year, and that is the textbook that we used.
So you lied in your own presentation about having a master's specializing in communication technologies.
Yeah, OFDM, orthogonal frequency division multiplexing. That's what I studied. I was working on, system design and doing stuff in Simulink and that type of thing. I was working on the cyclic prefix to try and figure out a way to reduce it so the bandwidth was more optimized. That was my.
MC2, do I still have to behave myself?
Oh.
But it was OFDM.
As best as possible.
But in undergrad, it's fair. This book I'm roughly accountable for. So if you find satellite communication in here, I can literally.
Is it RF communication?
Yeah, he's not asking about.
No, we're talking about satellites. Specifically.
Satellites use RF communication.
No, I get that. No, I'm cool with that. But for the specific application of satellites and them orbiting and how they interact with us, that's the part that I want to know where I should have learned that, or maybe where you learned that at Embry-Riddle. What class did you take at Embry that you learned that?
It was in the RF section. Because here's the thing. RF covers the entire spectrum. Satellites only use a particular set of frequency bands in that spectrum.
Okay, cool. But you're telling me in your undergrad,
to say that you don't know how it works means you either weren't paying attention or you are lying about your education.
I didn't even know that they're unidirectional, dude. I can't remember. Maybe it was MC Toon told me that they only send and not receive. I didn't even know that.
I did. Yeah, I told you that.
Yeah, he told me that. I honestly didn't even know that, dude. I'm
receiving.
being honest. We did not study satellites in my undergrad. I would remember.
But here's the thing. I didn't study GPS when I took electrical engineering. I just did it on my own.
We didn't either.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, we didn't either. Yeah, that's why we're here, because we wonder why we didn't learn these things, dude. That's why we're here.
I don't wonder why I didn't learn that. It wasn't part of my education for a reason. Because
we should learn that.
And you have the capability of learning that. After all, if we are denied that opportunity, how in the actual F did MC Toon educate himself on it?
No, well, the thing I like about GPS is it's the coordinate system we could go and use and reproduce. So I trust it. However it's produced, it will come out. If it's a ball Earth that's producing it, then
is a spherical coordinate system.
No, but that's arbitrary.
What?
Yeah, the spherical. You can make any coordinate system, whatever you want. It's not. That doesn't prove that the Earth is a ball. It's just a coordinate system that is presented to us with two angles and a magnitude.
You do know that you can use those coordinate systems to make measurements, and those measurements have geometric consequences,
yes,
right?
And that's where I think that this debate will get settled, because if
you're wrong there. Debate will not get settled. The debate has already been settled.
Sure,
the Earth is round.
Sure, fair enough. But let's say we do use that. Like, obviously, in your mind, you don't have any fear that this will happen. But let's say we do use GPS to then conduct a test that can show that it's flat. That would be very difficult for ballers to argue, because we're using a technology that should already be sort of leaning towards ball.
No, you're using a technology that hinges its entire existence on ball.
That will be figured out then. That's fine. That's why I like it, because it kind of gives you guys a head start, and everybody's comfortable with it because GPS is on our phone. I can move my phone around my apartment and get a new reading. I like it. It's not very granular though. I did some basic tests with the GPS phone, but then I just emailed a guy that I used to work with at Amazon, and he replied that I'm just reading his email. He recommended first and foremost that I look into Phantom for RTK because they're using it for surveying. And then he said that this is amazing. The error in the lat long is on the order of 2 to 5 centimeters, or even more precise using the RTK version of GCP ground control points. So I was like, that's amazing.
And you want to know what allowed for that increase in accuracy?
Actually, and I'm going to answer this, which will help you. And he said there are 13 GPS satellites that will be used for that. So
It wasn't that. Before even getting into the increased data set for precision, there is something else that actually increased the precision of GPS systems prior to allowing the processor of the receiver to take data from more than 6 or 7 satellites at a time.
what is that? Tell me.
Application of time dilation due to relativity.
Okay.
Science is awesome.
Sure. But either way, you're comfortable with the fact that this GPS can be accurate within 2 to 5 centimeters. That's amazing. That's hard to argue with. So that's perfect.
So you agree that GPS is accurate, correct?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I think it's probably the only thing non-military, non-rich person can do to rigorously prove the shape of the Earth.
Perfect. Then here's what you're doing. Then you can set up 2 points, and then you can use your GPS to figure out how far away you are from those 2 points as the crow flies. So what you got to do is have a starting point, and then drive north. Just drive perfectly north, and with a GPS, it shouldn't be too hard. And you can also do another measurement. Measure the North Celestial Point and its position in the sky. Take those data points, take multiple data points, drive north or about, I don't know, make a night out of it, do 100 miles, and then try to make that make sense on a flat surface. I guarantee you won't be able to.
Dude, check this out. I talked with George Natchuk, one of your boys, last night, and he lives in Minnesota near a lake, and so once it freezes over, we can do a test on that, and then
or you can just do what I suggest to do, since you don't have to wait for a frozen lake.
True. I think this one's nice because for me personally, this one's at the water, and
it sounds like you're just trying to get out of doing this observation that I told you to do with GPS, which you agreed was actually accurate, and this is the reason why I say that you're a boat.
I was kind of thinking about my own test, but say yours again.
Just have a starting point.
Okay.
Drive perfectly north. Make a night out of it. Drive maybe, I don't know, 100 miles, 150 miles directly north. And then take measurements of where the North Celestial Point is in the sky. Take those data points and then try to make that make sense on a flat Earth.
No one I'm not going to buy that. Man, we're not going to go and pick something in the sky when we could easily do something on the ground. What's the point of that?
What you observe above your head can tell you a lot about what is under your feet, geometrically speaking.
There's no reason to deny something that can give you valid information.
Exactly.
You guys wouldn't be opposed to doing something close to the ice, right?
No, because I know what you're referring to, and George has actually done it a couple years in a row, getting better and more reliable results each time. Yeah,
we're going to do that. But
and guess what? And guess what? It has yet to come back flat.
And also, my little observation doesn't need you to wait for a frozen lake. You can do this tonight. You could do this right now, and I guarantee you, the data points that you gather will be incompatible with flat Earth.
This debate will not get settled until somebody can create a tangent line, however you describe it, perfectly straight that people have comfort. And to me, starting with
did you not just say that GPS is accurate enough to give you that?
We're going to use the GPS to map along the straight line.
So basically, GPS is accurate except when it's not.
That's actually what I'm asking this guy who I'm interacting with. I'm like, can we pre-program a straight flight within the sort of control module? And if that's possible, then
you're lucky.
Then we don't even need to do the surveying part. I actually think that it's possible because I was watching a video today I put on my channel about how people are using this for surveying. I think you can actually pre-program a path.
You can
in the actual software.
Here's a different way to do it. We can do it on Google Maps right now because Google Maps and GPS agree, right?
Keep going. I don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I know. I've
Does
used it
GPS
many
Google
times. Has anybody else used GPS while driving?
I drove from
Google Maps?
here to I drove from
Yeah.
Tampa, Florida to Halifax, Nova Scotia on Google Maps through Android Auto.
There you go. All
But
right.
the thing
So
with these though,
hold on. So
Yep.
Google Maps and GPS coordinates line up. So here's what we can do. The question is, does the lines of latitude and longitude shrink or grow south of the equator?
no, dude, what are you guys talking about, man? We're trying to come up with something at the surface that's reproducible that doesn't assume anything
That
about
is at the surface.
all of it.
That is at the
But
surface.
why not
it's
just
across the
test it
surface.
against the ground?
By definition, that is at the surface.
So
But-
go to one place in the southern hemisphere, drive
No,
due
dude.
east or due west, and use your GPS to measure it the other way.
Dude, you're gonna
Get
make
your
me.
latitude
You're gonna
and
make
longitude.
me block you again. I'm
Did-
gonna block you off your channel.
Did the I don't know why this is such a challenge
It's
for
not
you.
a good idea, dude. No,
He
we're
does-
getting something to the ground, dude. I just told you
You're on-
that there's
There's two things I'm using here:
Extensive
GPS that you agree is accurate, and being on the ground, which you agree is accurate. That's all I'm using here. So you go and you drive, you drive whatever number of miles, and then you get your latitude and your longitude. The important being the longitude, and you find out, well, is the longitude below the equator shrinking or growing as that, like the AE map does?
So, okay,
There you
maybe to kind of fill you in on this. This drone is now being used for surveying. That's the difference. I don't know how much you know of Jesse.
So MC Toon, do you see what I mean about this guy being
Yeah.
being a Poe?
Yeah,
Okay,
deflection.
so let me just
He
finish
just
my-
completely ignored, quite literally,
let me
everything you
finish my
just said and brought up
poetry.
drone.
Let me finish my poetry. Okay, so
Oh, jeez.
apparently, there's total stations, there's auto levels and all that. These things are now revolutionizing even surveying. Apparently, I just found out about this kind of stuff today, but a lot of it is just baked in. To the fact that it has its own local GPS coordinate system. That's the whole point. That's the beautiful thing about these things. And you can actually pay to utilize other people who've already pre-made a grid for their own surveying. So you can actually, that's where you can also get some advantage too in the accuracy when you, I guess, I don't know if you download it or how somebody makes it available.
Waypoints doesn't debunk satellites.
Either way, you can program this thing to go in a straight line. And once that's possible, the whole debate's over, because once you go in a straight line, you can do
But waypoints don't debunk satellites.
What points?
You just said that you can buy supposed geofences, for example, from other people. So what?
No,
That
you
does
can tighten the grid. You can use even
grids, geofences, whatever. That doesn't debunk satellites.
No, we're talking about measuring the curvature of the ice on a lake. We're not talking about the satellite.
And you need a drone for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most elegant way to do it without having to use an auto level and total stations and all that kind of stuff, which introduce optical uncertainties. That's the issue.
How would a drone help you with this observation?
Because you just pre-program, and then anybody who doesn't trust the result would be basically conspiracy theorists that these drones are not being used for surveying, which they are apparently now a lot.
You didn't answer my question. How is a drone going to help you measure the curvature of this lake?
You would program it to go in a straight line, and it has a camera on it, and you can actually just see whether, as it's going further down
What kind
that
of drone is this?
the actual name of it. It's expensive, but it's a good one.
Is it DJI?
Phantom 4 RTK, next generation mapping solution, DJI, yeah.
Yeah, I have a DJI Mavic Pro Alpine Wide Edition, quite literally 5 feet away from me. Do you
But
want to
here-
know what's on the bottom of that drone? Which, by the way, the more expensive drones also have from DJI.
Yep.
Radar.
Cool.
Once you have them at a certain altitude, they will stay at that altitude, i.e., they will curve with the Earth.
But let me just read the email that I'm sending him. I said, but is a straight line flight path determined relative to the ground in any way, or can a straight line flight
Yes.
path be pre-programmed prior to the drone moving and be executed over any surface, even a bumpy terrain? This is how he responded. It is not determined relative to the ground. In actuality, it's determined by latitude and longitude with 13 GPS satellites at minimum that communicate with the drone in real time. The error in the lat long is on the order of 2 to 5 centimeters, or even more precise using the RTK version of ground control points. Ground control points are known surveyed reference points to move scale a photogrammetric map in post-processing. The pre-programming is done prior to launch, either on a desktop or a mobile device. controlling the bird on site. Alternatively, I suppose a straight line could be done shooting photos manually, but I wouldn't. So it can be
And-
done, dude. It
and
can be
hang
done
on.
pre-programmed.
There is a detail there that was missed that Red actually pointed out to directly.
Yeah.
That pre-programming will give the path, which will give the lateral and front to back motion of the drone. However, it does not program in the altitude of the drone.
Exactly.
So
that type of information is given to the drone via external sensors, which, by the way, that's exactly why the DJI Mavic Pro has them.
Yeah, but I think that you can still, in the programming, create a straight line. It doesn't have to maintain altitude; it just has to go in a fixed straight line. Because
You can't actually. You cannot turn that sensor off. That sensor is always taking data so it can maintain its altitude. Otherwise, you're going to have a drone that just has willy-nilly, random behavior when it comes to altitude.
Here's the deal. So now that we have this notion of ground control points, just picture this. Let's say you have one point where the drone starts. Let's say that's 000, and then it has also a GPS coordinate associated with it that is coming from the actual system. Let's say then we now map with like a total station or an auto level or something, some point straight down the road, like 500 meters. That point is now mapped. And now we know that it's straight along that local coordinate. Now
it's going to stay level and follow the curve, because in order to follow the curve, it will remain level. It will be tangent to the pull of gravity.
Just so you know, we just need it to go in a straight line. It doesn't have to be parallel or in any kind of orientation specific. It just has to be demonstrably straight. And so once that's known and it's going along that path in a predictable way, the drop of the Earth will be evident. That's the whole. As long as it's not crashing into the Earth, we could even have it tilting slightly upwards. It doesn't have to be perfectly level to the ground or follow the Earth in any way. I think that once we can generate 2 local points, we know it's straight locally. We have the GPS coordinates of those 2 points, and the system knows to extrapolate that thing out in a straight line, and the drone can then reliably go on that straight line. Then it's solved. And from what he's saying, I mean, I'm going to reply to him tomorrow, but I think that it's simple because they're doing it for surveying. It's common.
I really don't know what you're trying to accomplish here, but everything that
need
you
a drone
think
to go in a straight line. That's it, and then it's over.
Yeah, but the thing is that what you're really not understanding is that your understanding of how drones work is severely Jared is lacking the right term, or
did you call him Jaren or Jared?
Jared.
Okay, I thought you were calling. I don't like Jaren anymore either, so you can make fun of him.
Okay, I'm sorry that he decided to whiz in your Cheerios.
Anyways, yeah, so I'm struggling to understand how the capability of a drone to remain on a designated path will show you anything to do with the topography below it. If you are not concerned about the altitude of the drone.
No, the altitude is built into this straight line that everybody would know is straight. Like straight is not unique or.
So hang on. So is your hope, is your expectation, if the Earth was curved, to see the drone maintain on this path, but increase in elevation as it goes along it?
Correct. And
wrong.
We would
wrong. That is a flawed expectation from the get-go.
But Jared, check this out. It would be known a priori what the straight line is. It would be known to be straight, and it would have GPS coordinates along it. So
yes, which have zero to do with elevation. Those GPS coordinates that you would be putting in have zero height account for it. Those GPS coordinates are the coordinates for the Earth below the flight path that you are programming. That's what it's doing.
No, it's agnostic to the Earth, man. You have to think about this as a local coordinate system, which is what it is. It's not. He even said it's not determined relative to the ground. It's relative to the internal coordinate system of this drone.
Incorrect.
I'm saying that's what it is in surveying, dude. That's the whole point of surveying. You're creating a local grid and it's operating
No,
along.
no. The drone doesn't operate like that. The drone has external sensors that help it do its navigation. A drone is only as smart as the amount of input information it's able to receive from its external sensors.
True. So these.
So that is exactly why my DJI Mavic Pro Alpine Wide Edition has these external sensors to do the thing that you say it can do without it.
Okay, are you saying that a drone cannot go to a particular elevation reliably?
It cannot go to a
it
particular. I said.
Let Jared finish. Let Jared finish.
What I'm saying is that the drone cannot go to that altitude reliably without the external sensors.
Okay,
it needs those external sensors.
Yeah, we're cool with
and so here's the thing. What is going to happen with that drone? Because this is actually what happens on other aircraft with altimeter systems as well that are connected to an autopilot system. You get it up to the altitude that you want, and then you tell it to run the designated program. The drone will maintain that elevation over the ground below it for that designed path.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Let's not even, we're not even talking about the drone. I think this is the part, I think some of the people in the chat are not very intelligent. Who's Mandelbrot set? He's probably not very smart, right? Like I don't think he understands what a local coordinate system is. So let's put the drone.
A question.
Yeah,
question.
Mandelbrot
What,
set. He's very smart.
as an outsider, what is your perspective on intelligence?
I mean, somebody who can potentially break away from years of programming, I guess, and indoctrination is a good start.
MC2 gets it.
So this is not very complicated, guys. You have a drone that has the ability to receive, let's say, from satellites, however, that works. I'm not going to debate that. It's receiving 3 numbers as a coordinate system for where it is at one point. Local surveying using something else, total station, auto level, we can then create another point, let's say along this ice, that is exactly straight, at a distance. And then we mark what that point is physically. And so now we have 2 points that we know when we connect them are perfectly straight. And it's above the earth. And then now we know what those, and then we can also then know what those 2 GPS coordinate systems are for this coordinate system. Like we literally take the drone to that other point. And so now we have 2 points.
Yes.
We have 2 physical points above the ice with GPS.
With your permission, can I kind of get out of Dodge and start engaging in sins of the flesh?
What?
No, dude, don't do PMO kind of stuff.
I want to leave this thing out and start engaging in sins of the flesh. Can I? Do I have your permission?
You don't need my permission to go.
Perfect. And also the God, dude, I envy people who haven't met you. Peace out.
All right.
Thanks, Reds.
Here,
hold on a second. Here. Let me back up a little bit.
All right,
You're trying to invent a whole new bunch of surveying when they've already done all these different things that deal with the sphericity of the Earth.
No. I'm telling you how surveying people do stuff using these drones, because they don't make stuff on curved things. They're trying to make straight line grids. That's the whole point of surveying, dude. They're not making everything along spherical coordinates, man. When they're building freaking buildings.
Not all surveying is about making straight line grids like that.
Sure, but it's not impossible for them. That's my point.
All right.
They've done that.
So we're gonna. I hope that this isn't new for you. Spherical triangles. Have you? Right. This is 100 level math in college. Right. So when you put a triangle on a sphere, there's more than 180 degrees. There's a formula for it. But when they have a number, measurement for that, when it's more than 180 degrees, they called it the spherical excess. Right. This is a critical thing in surveying. They've been doing it for centuries, as long as they've been able to accurately measure things. So hold on.
Wait, what does that have to do with what I was walking you guys through?
Yeah.
This is the test that George and I talked about last
Yeah,
night.
because you're trying to invent a new thing to test the sphericity of the Earth when
No,
it's
I'm
been
trying to
done.
make a straight line using a drone.
Yeah,
It's simple.
You're trying to use surveying equipment to test the sphericity of the Earth. It's been done. So just a second, and I'll pull up an old text.
But why are you opposed to us doing it this way?
I don't because it's already been done. That's the problem, and it's just
not a problem. Why
why
don't you want new ways to prove that it's a ball? Why are you taking me down?
Go ahead and do it.
The problem is when you explained what you are proposing as a test and what your expectations of the results would be in one way or the other, your expectation of those results was exceptionally flawed for someone who has made the claims that you have.
Let me finish it before you guys say that it's flawed. I didn't even get to what exactly I was doing. I was close to getting done. I just stated that there are going to be 2 physical points above the ice, because we have somebody in the chat who's talking about a Zamboni being used to ensure the ice isn't wavy or bumpy. So these people really have no idea what's going on. We're talking about 2 points above the ice that have nothing to do with the geometry at all beneath it. It has to do with 1 point that is known, fixed, then surveying, local surveying, within the tolerances of an auto level or a total station or whatever. I even recommended, George, let's go half or a quarter to make sure that it's for sure straight. We put that point, we can put a physical marker there. Now we have 2 points that we know that when we connect them, we have a perfectly straight line. And now we can then document what the GPS points are at those 2 points. And now I think this is the part where we could either keep doing that in daisy chain if we get paranoid about doing this extrapolation, which I would prefer to do, but use basically that line as a starting point of where the GPS based drone has to fly.
All right,
and we know what the coordinates are.
Yes, and again, what is your expectation for the drone to do if the surface of the Earth below it is curved?
Before we get to that, do you agree that we can create that line and have it fly along them? That's the $1 million question.
Yes, that shit is exceptionally easy.
Correct. I agree it's easy. So once it can do that.
But again, what is your expectation of what the drone is to do in reality when you observe it, when you program the path in and get it up to its starting point and go fly? What is your expectation of the drone given if the Earth is curving below it?
But before I get to that, you agree we've created a straight line above the ice that is straight, like mathematically straight, and has GPS along it. Do you agree with that?
Why are you afraid to answer this question now?
No, I just want to make sure that's what we're driving along.
What part of yes did you not understand?
Okay, so I just wanted to.
What are your expectations of the result?
I want to see it travel along that path with the camera, whether it's a camera or a video
and
camera.
do what in relation to the surface of the Earth if it is curved?
If it looks down and you see that there's an increasing distance, then we know that it's a ball.
That is a wrong expectation to have because of the function of the altitude keeping of the drone.
But let's say we've now defined that line. Again, it has nothing to do with...
No. Stop and listen. You are running into a hardware problem with the drone that you want to use. Flying drones have its own radar altimeter to maintain its elevation over the ground below it. This function cannot be turned off.
Wait, Jared. We're not talking about necessarily even flying. We're just talking about going to these points along this line predictably.
So here, Jared, can I try? Listen,
it's not hard.
Listen, mind God, just for a second while Jared and I try to hash this out here, okay? Because the coordinate system is, is the elevation is from the center of the Earth. If you pick, hold on. GPS coordinates are XYZ is the elevation from the center of the Earth. So
correct.
If you're gonna draw a straight line, you start in one point. And then the other point is going to have a different elevation if you're going to go tangent to your first line, right? So you're going to say X,
Correct.
Y here, and then you're going to move over here, and you're going to say, it needs to be higher here, right? Then you're going to go to your next point. You're going to say it has to be higher here. And next point has to be higher here. And what's going to happen, though, Mind of God, is you're going to say, well, we just programmed it to go up in an angle. Look, that's what you're going to see.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
It will be non-definitive because we will have programmed it to go up in elevation as it moved farther from its starting point, and that's
no.
what
But
you'll
as you go further away, the starting point is known how far away it is from the ice. As you go away, it's going to start increasing at a higher rate.
Because you told it at the new location to be at a higher elevation.
No,
so
it's going
if
to be
it were
increasing
flat, it would have the same result.
That's the thing, is with the way the GPS navigation works, your straight line is actually a curved line following the average contour of the Earth.
If you
now
keep,
this is
if
where
you keep
this
the same
is
elevation.
Yes.
No,
It's not if you keep the same elevation of the points, because here's the thing. Your basic GPS tracking for the majority of your commercially available drones, when you put a GPS path in there, when you do a flight path, that flight path is actually in relation to the ground below it. It does not factor in the height that you are flying the drone at. Where that is set is when you turn on the drone and you take off and you get to the starting point, the altitude you are at when you are at that starting point and hit run on the program for the flight path, that is the elevation that the drone will maintain for the entirety of the program.
That's the part where I need to talk with these people. If that's the case, then maybe it can't be used. But I have
exactly, and you can, unless you get into the hardware programming, unless you literally break into the hardware of the drone, you cannot shut off that function.
But Jared, I think you maybe should get up on some of the stuff that they're using, man. This is a whole different ballgame. These things you can create a straight line and spherical and have it honor that straight line. I have a feeling that that's trivial. I'm pretty sure.
And again, GPS systems and programming start from the spherical Earth, start from the accepted model of the Earth.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll give you that. That's fine. That's not an issue. But you would not.
Either way, you are going to get a shit result because your methodology is inherently flawed for what you are trying to isolate as what you are trying to test and verify.
So here, I got a question for you guys. Let's imagine a sphere, right? You have spherical coordinates, right? And then you have a plane that's tangent to one point on that sphere. Are you guys following me at this point? You have a sphere and then a plane that's tangent to one point. You have a normal vector that sticks out of that plane. We know the formula of that, how to get that from the plane itself. There's a way to take the formula of the plane, take its coefficients, and then that is actually the normal vector. So that normal vector now is a straight line in spherical coordinates. Do you guys agree with that? It's popping out of the plane.
Yeah.
And that thing, okay, so that you guys agree that we can make straight lines in spherical coordinates. That's not a debate.
Yeah, that is not the contention.
Okay.
The contention is what your expected results are given what you have conveyed as your methodology of testing these to the results.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not actually trying to be argumentative because actually some other guy crashes our RC mentioned something like that. So I'm not a drone expert. I literally just started researching this yesterday, but I actually have a feeling you guys maybe need to upgrade your understanding on what these drones are doing, because I have a feeling with what they're doing and the amount of different software that you can actually download onto these things, it can do that. It can actually do that.
You cannot. The majority of commercially available drones, you cannot shut off the altimeter. Full stop.
Can you set GPS absolute GPS waypoints, ignoring the altitude? Higher
end ones will give you the ability to program in elevation changes. The majority of them that most people have do not have the elevation in the flight plan.
So let's assume that these high-end one can at least accept that.
Yeah.
That you can. So you pick your XYZ, and you move to another XYZ, and we have to tell it to go to a higher Z at this other location, right?
Right.
And then at the next location, we have to go to a higher Z, right, Jared? to
Yep.
draw a straight line tangent to the original.
Yep.
And
correct.
so the problem is, whether it's flat or a sphere, it would work the same. It gives us a non-exclusive result that doesn't answer anything.
Which
Yeah,
means it's a bad test.
But just so you know, the first 2 points are the sort of anchor points. They will bake into the distance away that those 2 points are from the Earth, and then as long as those points going out are the GPS can actually get to those points reliably. That may not be possible, but I have a feeling that it can. However it does it, it's able to get to those points reliably.
All right.
If all I'm saying is once a straight line is defined, again, you guys can debate whether this is possible or not, but once a straight line is defined in GPS above the surface of the Earth, this whole debate is solved. I don't know.
That doesn't solve anything.
No,
For me,
you're not
do it. I would
you're
reject
not listening.
that myself.
You're not listening, because the way to program that straight line into the flight path, into the flight plan for the drone, is inherently going to give you a null result, because it will be required to program in an increasing elevation if it were a sphere. Well, guess what? If it's a sphere, well, it's doing what it should. It's flying in the straight line tangent from the origination point. Or it's just because you had to program in the elevation change, it's just flying off that elevation change, so it's actually flat below it, but because of the way it's flying and increasing in altitude as it goes along, it's giving the appearance of it being curved. Because it does not preclude one over the other in your results, it is a poorly designed test.
Okay, so I think it's still that may lead us to still use this, but we may have to make multiple points using standard surveying. So let's say
no. The more points you put in,
wait.
The more data points you put in, because of the methodology of the test, as you have laid out, as you laid out a year ago on someone else's channel, Sean G's, by the way, it is the same. Garbage in, garbage out. It will not go to one over the other.
All right, let's take a step back. So the drone comes in after this first step, which I don't think anyone would argue. If we're on an ice surface that's frozen, we now make these marker points every 500 meters, and it's a physical place that we know from point to point to point to point. There are straight lines governing the first 2, and then the second and the third, and then we daisy chain it all the way across, let's say George's Lake, wherever he's at. And we have like physical poles that we can document that the top of those poles represent this line that we're creating in daisy chain. Now we've established using standard surveying across a frozen ice. Again, there are issues potentially whether the ice is perfectly smooth beneath it, but that actually doesn't come into effect yet, because we're talking about the tops of those poles all represent a straight path. Once that's governed, or once that's made, now let's say we have another device like a drone that can go to the tops of those poles, record what the GPS coordinates are, and go to those points reliably many times. Now we have a way to sort of, instead of using lasers, which can diverge, and a lot of issues with laser tests that have been done, now we have a reliable way to take an object to those points and record its journey, and then see the potential increase in drop. That's robust.
And again, no, it's not, because in order to have that flight path, you are getting increasing elevations that does not preclude one or the other.
No, we're not. We're recording what it is at that point.
Yes, and then re-entering it as a flight path. Hit these points.
Correct. Yep. Exactly. It's going back to those.
Is that it followed the points and
no. Yeah. No, as it goes on the journey. That's the whole point of this MC Toon, is along the journey we're gonna see what's happening with the ice beneath it. That's the whole point.
If it's flat, it would do the same thing.
No, false. The first point,
we give it an X, Y, Z. We say go over here where there's a higher elevation.
No,
if it's flat, it does the
ice
same thing.
Will curve in all directions, right? That's what the ball earth says. So if you start anywhere on this ball and go in any direction along a straight path, you guys believe that there's a drop distance.
We've
if
measured
it's a straight line, if it's a perfect tangent. That's technically what you guys believe, which is ridiculous, but we'll entertain this. So you start at
If you want to ignore topology, then yes, that would be a
yeah,
wonderful.
so that's the whole point. Let's say George and Jesse or somebody who's good at this. We sit there and we literally make these markers every 500 meters for a few miles down the ice, and the top of those poles that we can cut, that represents the straight line, the tangent line made in daisy chain. Then we now set this high-end GPS on top of those points. We now record what those are. We know that it's straight because we made it with like surveying. Then we now fly the drone along that path, and then along that path, you guys believe as long as you go in a straight line, there's going to be increasing drop relative to the starting point. And that's what we would just literally record it and watch it as it's driving.
But how would that not happen if it were flat with GPS?
No. Wait,
it would be different. Then
quantify how it would be different.
Well, no, we'd have to get the equation of that line. We could just do it in math.
Yeah, but
we
here's
would
the thing. We would
are.
have to program that line in. We would have to do the math and say, okay, if it's spherical, what would the elevation need to be here and be here and be here and be here? And then we would find out that the elevation matched. We wouldn't discover anything that was unique, that was exclusive.
Wait,
hang on.
About this for a second. The first point, we know how far above the Earth it is. It's real. We can actually literally measure with like a meter stick. We know above the Earth where it starts. That's our origin. And then we know that we've generated a tangent line emanating from that, right? So we know what the starting point, the starting height is. We can come up with the equation of that actual line that we've created using surveying. Then we know how far away it started from the Earth. Again, that first point that it's at, we don't know whether it's a ball or flat yet. We just know that there's a
Ooh, hold on a second. The audio went funny. Just a second, people. That I had to switch to my different Bluetooth, and I think it messed up the audio from them. I'll get it. No kidding. I know. All right. I don't think it's working yet. Can you guys hear me? I think they can hear me. I can see my own. Yeah. It's not. Oh, what did I do? I worked it successfully last week. That could be. Yeah, Soundflower. Yeah. Oh, it's still not working. They're saying I'm back, but you're still not back. Weird, when I make the change, it's not. Oh. Yeah, you can say all you want now.
the biggest degenerate out here. Jesus.
Oh, there we are. Now they can hear you, I think, but I can't hear you. My goodness.
One or the other.
Struggling with this. You guys talk. I can't hear you.
All right. So, as I was saying, if you're already going to be setting these reference polls at whatever interval you want, rather than taking a drone to each one, put a simple GPS receiver that'll give you all 3 coordinates.
Either way, that's fine. Sure.
That way you're not worried about this whole creating the flight path. You're still collecting the data, and then from there, and then from there you will either have a consistent elevation, or you won't.
Actually, I think I hopped over that, Jared. That's what we would do. Sorry, my bad. We would take a high-end GPS unit, preferably on the same grid as the one that I'm assuming that the drone would fly on. But if it's better than the drones, then we would use that to map the top of those poles, and have the drone honor those in a flight.
Now, as long as you're within the same error window on GPS locations, the drone would be superfluous at that point, and you would have it just to play with it. So again, set up your reference. Actually, sight and shoot your tangent. And then set your targets off of that, and then GPS at the targets. You have your elevation, you have your straightness. You don't need the drone. You don't need that programming.
You're right. The answer is built into the pole height. I see what you're saying. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. So,
how high the target is on the pole versus
the first one. The first one. Yeah, I agree. But I think the drone part. I think the daisy chain thing will be the thing that would probably improve George's, because everybody's going to complain about what he did. If he used something like that over too far of a distance, I'm going to definitely complain and say that, well, no, we don't know if that's within the tolerance. But if him and I literally physically make two things, 250 meters apart, and make it really long across a lake, and I can literally actually see the straightness, I mean, that's compelling. For sure. The drone thing is kind of just a way to the cherry on top.
To have an extra toy to play with.
Yeah.
No, just admit it. You want the chance to play with a toy like that, so you're trying to come up with a way to justify using it. Just admit it that you want to have it for fun.
Yeah, and I like that it's visual and cool and all that.
So they and them has a good question there. Soundly and Jesse Kozlowski used a extremely accurate surveying level
I don't
GPS
like the bridge.
to go across the bridge. The bridge is a known elevation above the water, and it's consistent except for the couple humps there, right? So how is that not useful GPS information? I don't like the bridge doesn't really cut it.
No, I think it's similar. It's just me doing it. It's just me writing down the steps.
It has to be you?
Yeah, because I mean,
all right, then go do it. Rent what Jesse had and do it yourself. It's probably not that expensive to rent any of these things. So here's the deal, though. It's enough of this drone stuff, because you can rent them. They're expensive to buy, but not to rent. So here is. Surveying has dealt with all this before. They know what the curvature is, and they know how to do it. That's the spherical excess, right? When you do a triangle, and surveying is a lot of triangulation, every time you do a triangle, there's a spherical excess. So here is an example from a big book, and I'll post the name of the book, the Transcontinental Triangulation of the American Arc of the Parallel. So, and I'll fix the spelling there. The American Arc of the Parallel. Notice the arc in the name there. This is an old book. It's been around a long time. And it's critical information for surveyors to do it right. Because if you don't do it right and you don't do your calculations right, then everything gets all screwy. So there's table after table after table of these measurements here. So you see Cold Spring and an observed angle. Snow Mountain West, observed angle. Mount Helena, observed angle. The correction, the spherical excess, the spherical angles and the spherical excess. You can see 4 arc seconds, 0.76. All three of them were the same.
I've never learned spherical excess in all of my education. So you want to start from scratch?
I was helping my sister who was in a 100 level, basically a remedial math class.
Fair enough, but I've never heard that term in my life. So.
All right, well, so that's the point of if you draw a triangle on a sphere, you get more than 180 degrees.
According to Bob the Science Guy, you get 180.
According to who?
He tried to sit me on Sky Vector one time and say, "Oh, look, you have 3 dots on a sphere, and it doesn't add up to 180. Therefore, the Earth must be a ball." I'm like, "You're a moron, dude." He literally tried to draw a quote triangle on a sphere and said the angles don't add to 180, which I agree. Like you're getting at, there's this excess, right?
Yeah.
It's not 180 because that only applies in 2D. And he's like, "Oh, therefore the Earth must be a ball." I'm like, "Dude, you're really using these as proofs? Like that's insane." But sorry, keep going. So I agree with you. That's not 180.
So
and
right.
I didn't realize there was a systematic way to calculate the excess.
Yeah. So they're measuring here, and in this particular one at the top of the screen, 14 arc seconds, 0.28. Right. Here's the next one, 5 arc seconds.
Okay.
Right. And these tables go on and on and on with these same. I went too fast.
But is it reaffirming what we already just agreed exists, that those 3 angles will not equal 180? Is there anything like conclusive like that?
This is conclusive. Every time a survey is done,
mm-hmm.
every time here's another page, right? 4 arc seconds of excess. Every time they do that, they get an excess. It's one of the things that they use in their verification, because if you don't get an excess, then they know something is wrong. They did something incorrect in their measurement.
Fair enough.
Right?
So your position is that those 3 points are physically on the ground, right? On ball Earth? It would have to be, right? If you go back to your table?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, we would just need to verify that that's actually on the ground.
So they're measuring the different angles between the points.
Yeah, fair enough. Those 3 would be physically touching the Earth, right?
Yeah.
The ball Earth.
And they'll have somebody over at the other point holding up a stick, or they'll have some landmark at that point, right? So it's a point that they've already been to. And here's a good thing of showing how they do these measurements. They get up in these tall towers so that they can see farther, because of curve getting in the way, so they can see farther.
That won't win too many people, because then those angles would then have to be now adjusted for all the optical things that happen when you're measuring things.
The nice thing about horizontal angles is they're not affected by those types of things like vertical ones are, because there isn't, when you're doing vertical measurements, you've got a vertical stacking in your index of refraction gradient. But when you're looking horizontally, it has a whole different profile as it goes through the air. So here is an example here. The YOLO base, you only live once base, apparently, net to Pacific coast, western or coast ranges, right? So this is California. So you got Mount Sanhedrin at the top, Two Rock, Great Casper, Fisher, Cold Spring, right? These are on the 39th parallel, Mount Helena, right? So these are point-to-point observations they made, and then they did all the triangulation from there, and every one of them has a spherical excess. So if the Earth is flat, there would be no spherical excess, and if the Earth is a sphere, there would always be a spherical excess. These types of things confirm it.
Mm-hmm. This would be something that Bob should be using, not what he was telling me. I agree. If this is the case, Bob the science guy, he should not be using Sky Vector. This is more compelling, because now you're actually plotting 3 points on the assumed geometry and then making a mathematical claim based on that.
I think Sky Vector is perfectly fine too, especially when you're looking at the numbers get way out. Right over my shoulder, I've got the maps that I did when I won Flat Out Heroes Challenge, right? And this triangle that I made using great circle routes and real charts had 270 degrees in the triangle. You can't do that on a flat surface. It's not even close. That's 90 degrees too much. Right? It's not like there's a little margin of error. And those are real points, and they're next to airports. And I did another one where that was actually used airports. That was 263 degrees.
I think you'd have to watch him walk through it because SkyVector is literally a 2D.
I used SkyVector to plot the routes that I used for this right here.
Right.
So I know what SkyVector is.
Right. So it's a 2D. It's a flat.
It uses a projection, but it uses the same latitude longitude coordinate system.
I'm glad you mentioned that because we started on the 2D surface and he showed me some angles and stuff. I was like, okay, cool, this is a good starting. Then we switched over to spherical coordinates. And I'm like, Bob, I hope you're not stupid enough to not know that I would need this transform to go from a 2D surface to a 3D surface before you start telling me about the angles between those 3 points. Then I would have been on board. I wouldn't have complained. I would have just nodded my head just like what you just walked me through because you went through 3 different points on what you think is a sphere, and then you looked at the angles between and said it's not 180, and then that's fair because now you're physically on a sphere, and you're measuring them. The problem is that SkyVector starts on a 2D, just what we're seeing literally, and then you can't use those angles and then say, oh, now we're in spherical coordinates without converting them to spherical coordinates, and then you can start measuring the interior angles and then make an assumption. That was my issue.
You do know that the coordinate system used for plotting of navigation is the spherical coordinate system that lines up with GPS.
But I don't know. Do you know much about SkyVector, Jared? Because it's what he showed me, and I confirmed with an amateur pilot friend of mine that they do use that, and they do treat it as a 2D plane. So I'm not saying that it can't be a ball, but those coordinates need to be then converted.
The coordinate system that is used on all charts that are adequate for navigation, the coordinate system itself is a global reference. Not a flat plane reference, a globe reference.
I would say SkyVector would disagree with that if you play around with it.
Oh my goodness.
That's not the case. No, it's a 2D.
It's using GPS coordinates.
No, I mean fair enough, but I don't know if we could pull up SkyVector. It's just it's a map that shows.
Yeah,
yes, it's a 2D representation of a 3D coordinate system known as GPS and latitude and longitude.
Yeah. Sure, I have no issues with that. But let's say we're then going to use these properties, these excess or the interior angles on a 2D as 180. We need to do a transform. We need to convert those 3 points to spherical. Then we can start calculating these excess.
Are you using the coordinate system that equates to GPS?
I don't know what SkyVector is using. He brought me to this side.
SkyVector is something that pilots use, so it has to use the same coordinate systems that pilots use. What do pilots use for coordinate systems?
From a friend of mine, he said he just assumes it's a map, 2D. He says point to point as a line on a map.
Then either he's pulling your chain, or you misheard him, or you are pulling our chain.
Well, I can read the email right now. I have a full video on my site where I walk through it. He's not referencing SkyVector. I just asked him a general question about taking into account Earth curvature in your flying, and he's like, no, not at all. Point to point distance as a line drawn on a map, and that's what SkyVector is. It's a map.
So here I have the 263 degree triangle that I did. Right?
Is this SkyVector or is
no,
this?
This is on. I'm starting here in Google Maps on the globe.
Well, I have no issues with what you said. So mathematically,
I just want to show it right here. Here's this. Okay. It's a straight line there, but of course this is a screen, so it's a 2-dimensional view of a 3-dimensional object. So you can only do so much. So here's another one, and here's another one. Now, as long as I'm careful about how I do it, it looks like a straight line, right? But of course, as I zoom out, we can see those lines are curves because it's following great circle routes.
Correct.
They all use the same coordinate system as pilots use. So we'll go to SkyVector. And it's internally doing all of the same calculations in 3 dimensions and then plotting it onto this Mercator projection.
So you're saying it's taking this and then pushing it down to 2D?
It has to, because it's a two-dimensional screen, not a three-dimensional screen. Yeah, got to pick some way to represent it.
Why not? Why not represent it just like this?
Because do you have a 3D computer monitor?
Yeah.
No, you don't.
You have a three.
That rendering he just pulled up is a three-dimensional representation.
It's yes.
Right. Well, they're not trying to simplify things, man.
But no. Is your computer monitor a 3D monitor or is it a 2D screen?
No, that's rhetorical. Sure.
No, it's not rhetorical. I want to make sure you actually understand what you're looking at.
It's 2 dimensions.
So what appears to be a 3-dimensional image that is rendered on the screen could in fact just be a curved 2-dimensional image?
If that's
Ever think that?
Yeah, but I don't think
no.
that's what's happening.
No. What SkyVector is doing is SkyVector is using the same coordinate system that WGS84 uses, which is GPS, the GPS coordinate system, which is a spherical coordinate system, and then breaking it down to smaller bite-sized chunks that are effectively flat and 2-dimensional because computer screens are 2-dimensional.
Yeah, if that's the case, I just want when he goes back to spherical, we need to transform. That's my issue.
No.
Right. So here it is. This is the route, and of course, Flat Out Hero couldn't understand what this meant when it's on a right.
Let's look at it.
And I think you can. This top one that's curving is a great circle route, right? It's this one right here, which is straight when you look from the top.
Yeah, let's just go down to those vectors of MC2 and see where they're actually going from point to point.
Yeah.
It's just it's an actual angle, one angle, just for people out there, one angle, and then a like a strength, like a magnitude, which will then dictate the speed or however the flight is taking off in that particular direction. So there's not 2 angles like in spherical. There's just one. And then
yeah, because they're not targeting an elevation as they take off or land. They're just saying, here's your bearing.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's all you need to do, right? That the elevation is a separate thing that they may have to change as they fly based on traffic, or it'll automatically change as they burn more fuel.
Let's just say that was like what Jared's getting at. That's a sort of 3D simplify, or still a spherical representation just in 2D for simplification. I would expect to see 2 angles and a magnitude.
Why,
and that's not the
why
case.
2 angles?
Because that's spherical coordinates, man. Theta, Phi, and R.
Yeah, but the elevation doesn't matter, right? It's when you get there, look up the elevation of the airport and make sure you don't hit the ground. That's all you got to do. You don't need to have a specific elevation when you take off in a plane.
No, we're not talking about elevation, bro. Everybody knows that it's on the ground, right? I'm talking about a unit vector pointing out of quote-unquote ball Earth. That unit vector in spherical coordinates, I hope to God you know this, is governed by 2 angles and a magnitude. Let's talk. We'll use one for simplicity.
But when you're flying a plane, you don't have to take that 3rd dimension into account when you're setting up your bearing.
Excuse me, if you're flying over a ball, you absolutely would need to know both those angles.
Never. You just need to be above the ground a certain elevation.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just point the plane wherever and just figure it out. No,
absolutely,
sir.
That's how it works.
If you imagine a plane leaving ball Earth and going to another destination on ball Earth, you absolutely need those 2 angles.
You don't need an angle. You
need to
govern where it's going to take off. That's obvious.
You need a bearing and an elevation
to understand what a unit vector pointing out of a plane.
You don't get to decide how the airplane industry flies their planes. Sir, they do it a certain way.
No, this is just obvious if we're on a ball. Any vector pointing out of ball Earth, you guys just claimed earlier to agree to know how to even get that equation, because I asked you guys about that. If you have a sphere and then you have a plane that's touching that sphere, the unit vector that's pointing out of that plane, you guys know how to get that formula, right? If you have a formula of a plane...
You've claimed that it's necessary, but you've not supported why it's necessary.
That's the direction. What do you mean? That's the way the plane will fly when it leaves Earth.
They just need a heading. They just need a heading. 87 degrees is all they need.
Okay, again, we are back to what I suspect is a failed expectation on your part, because again, as someone who has been intimately familiar with the aviation industry for the majority of the past 18 years now.
Who
Yeah,
is-
me. I dealt with aviation the entire time I was in the Navy.
Sure,
I
Jared,
took a short bit off, and I am now reattached to aviation.
let's check
So
your
here
on it.
is the thing about how aircrafts actually navigate and fly. They care about a bearing and an elevation. What
angle.
happened? No.
An elevation
One.
of what? It's on the ground. Let's say
Yes,
it's
exactly.
on the ground.
Elevation from the ground, from mean sea level, is the majority of what is used.
So are we talking 2 angles? Or
No.
one?
One angle.
Why do we not
One.
do the other angle? If you're flying,
Because of so the way an aircraft actually navigates as it takes off and gets its departure vectors, it's getting a single direction, turn to this bearing, and proceed to this elevation.
all right, guys, let me help you guys. This is
Hold on.
scary.
The
So
the
let's say a plane
the
is
angle
leaving.
the angle at which they reach their elevation doesn't factor into it like you're claiming
we're
it
talking
needs
about
to.
a plane leaving ball Earth. Do you agree that its initial orientation in spherical coordinates would require 2 angles and a magnitude?
No.
Okay, well then we have a fun.
Not for navigation.
No, I think we have a different understanding then. That's
Yes, we actually understand how aircraft navigate.
No, what you guys are doing is you're hijacking. The reality is that they do only need one angle. I agree, but it's because it's a 2D. It's a flat plane.
Even
That's
if
the whole
it were a
no.
flat plane, it wouldn't change
Probably not.
anything. Flat or round or whatever, it doesn't matter. All that they need to know is how high they need to be. So to say that you need that you need to point your nose at a certain angle as you're going up doesn't matter if that plane has more weight.
Whatever direction it leaves ball Earth,
It
that direction,
doesn't matter. It's irrelevant.
that direction that it leaves ball Earth is governed by 2 angles and a magnitude. It has to on spherical.
Of course, they are going at an angle, but nobody cares what angle they actually go at as long as you get to your certain elevation within a certain amount of time. Right? So if you're in a plane and you don't have much weight on it and you don't care about burning fuel quickly, you can take off, you can floor it, and you can pull back on the stick and go up as quickly as you want. They won't mind so much in the tower when they're telling you what heading to go, as long as you keep the same heading. Or if you're in a heavy plane and it's not very, very strong and it's a propeller and it's got a lot of cargo and you don't go up very quickly, the vector at which you change your elevation, they don't care all that much as long as you don't hit stuff. And as long as you get out of control, as long as you get out of the airspace.
You're using terms that don't apply to spherical coordinates, which makes me think you don't understand. So if you have a ball Earth and you have a plane leaving it, we're not talking about elevation. We're talking about spherical coordinates. Can we agree with that?
Okay.
Which is a magnitude and 2 angles, r, theta, and phi. You can call them lat long. That's fine. I have no issues with that. That angle that plane is taking off from Earth and it starts going out. I agree. After that, there's wind. There's all these other things that it's pre-planned for. That's why the arc is usually aimed outwards. That's why some of those things are actually curved on those 2D maps. But either way, that initial, what I call unit vector, pointing out of ball Earth, that is governed by, let's say, since it's unit vector magnitude 1 and 2 angles. It has to. You can say that it's done, but the control system or somebody else is governing it, but those 2 angles need to be defined, or else no one knows how to draw that unit vector coming out of the ball Earth. You cannot draw a vector in spherical coordinates unless you have 2 angles and a magnitude. You guys can't redefine mathematics. I'm sorry.
They just don't care about how far it is that
That's
much
fine.
above the
Nobody knows
elevation.
what it is,
And they
though.
don't use r, theta, phi.
Whatever it's called, there's 2 angles and a magnitude for that thing leaving ball Earth.
Yeah, they only care about the bearing. They don't care about the elevation angle.
We're talking about people flying from one point to another.
They don't care. It doesn't matter as long as you get out of the airspace in time.
Sir, this is a pre-planned understanding of which direction this plane has to leave ball Earth in order to then travel at a certain speed. I use unit vector, but it actually has some understanding of the magnitude. when it leaves, and then if it goes along that path, it's going to, like, the wind or whatever is going to slightly correct and then get you to your destination. That's the initial vector that's pointing out of ball Earth. That vector that's pointing outside of ball Earth, where the plane is going to initially travel, is governed by two angles and a magnitude. You guys have to know that in spherical coordinates.
Absolutely it is, but it doesn't matter.
Correct. Good. So now my worry is that when we go to 2D, you guys can say then that that vector is now projected down onto 2D. Fair enough. And then we only have one angle and a magnitude. I'm okay with that. So let's say we have that one vector, which we all agreed has two angles and a magnitude. Let's say now Sky Vector wants to simplify things and just show us the 2D representation.
It's not Sky Vector. It's all of the air industry. They just go heading.
Of us, though. Let's project that onto 2 dimensions. So now we only have a magnitude and one angle. Fair enough. That's cool, because Cartesian can be represented by just a magnitude and one angle. That's the beauty of it. Now we lose one of those angles when we project it down onto 2D, which is what Sky Vector is. So now my only, and I'm not even ragging on your earlier example with the excess, because I think you were in the right coordinate system. My worry is when I look at Sky Vector, I see one magnitude and I see one angle. That leads me to believe that 3D unit vector is now projected onto a 2D plane, which is fine. But if anybody's going to convince me of angles inside of a triangle, when they go to the spherical, you better convert those two things to spherical coordinates. And he didn't do that. He didn't even know what I was talking about. He just looked at me like he never heard that before.
All right,
so that's a problem.
You see on the screen here, they have airspace around airports.
Okay.
Right, and these are stacked cylinders, is what they are, and that's what they care about. They care about here. When you're near the airport, you get to be in this airspace, and when you're a little farther out, you have to be higher up.
We're doing so well, man. They care about a lot when they're flying, man. They care about those two angles and the magnitude when they're flying.
No.
The ball, man.
No.
They don't just pick one angle and be like, oh, whatever, the plane will figure it out. No, they need to know the theta and the phi, man.
No, they do not.
No, they don't. That is not how flights work. That is not how pilots do things. We can agree that you don't know anything about flying, and that I do.
I actually agree with you that they don't need that because it's flat. You're correct. They actually
it wouldn't matter flat or round. The amount of the angle that for your elevation isn't something that they plot.
No, if it's flat, all you need is the orientation pointing in the right direction and then a magnitude where you're going to take off. That's all you need if you're on a flat plane.
Oh my
Correct.
Gosh.
So yeah, what's on Sky Vector is what actually my friend confirmed that it's point to point, straight line as on a map. So why are you guys not on our side helping us?
Because it's a lie.
Because you're massively misrepresenting it. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
87 degrees bearing here. Just look at this. Great circle route.
Still seeing these cylinders, man. Good. I'm still seeing those cylinders.
300.
There's the delay, so be patient.
328 degree bearing as you leave Hong Kong. You wind up in London.
Yeah, they're just a theta.
Big
There's
curve.
no phi.
Absolutely, exactly what you need. And then 155 degree bearing to go back down to Johannesburg. You add those up, you do the math, you get 263 degrees when you put all those angles together.
You have no idea whether you're going to fly back into ball Earth or you're going to actually fly up away from ball Earth.
They know because they have an altimeter.
No, this is where you keep going wrong. When an aircraft is in flight, they are maintaining an altitude.
No, we're talking about takeoff. I'm not arguing anything about the flight. I'm talking about
it's the same thing. It is the same thing. When an aircraft departs, prior to them actually throttling up and taking off, they are given a vector, a bearing that they are departing and then turning to, and an altitude to gain to.
But you're moving the goalpost because
no,
only talking about 3 points and the vectors that go to those points. We were not talking about anything along that magenta path. We were only talking about the 3 points and the angles between those 3 things. That's it. We weren't going into the flight path, elevation, maintaining elevation.
You were trying to mischaracterize that all of this information from spherical trigonometry are needed for the aircraft flights. No. All that is needed for the aircraft flight to take place and for them to navigate is a bearing and an elevation. an altitude to maintain.
I'm saying everything about sky vector shows, because it's, first of all, it is a 2D thing, and then it's only showing a magnitude and one angle. That's indicative to me of a flat Earth. So converting that to spherical and then making arguments about the excess in between the triangle, that's fine. You know, if you want to do that and make an argument, that's a different thing than what Bob the Science Guy was telling me, which is not.
So
he was
just
not doing
just pick a number. Hey, what's a regular angle for elevation when you're climbing, Jared? 10 degrees?
We weren't discussing that, though. That has nothing to do with the
I'm
triangle.
trying to get that third vector for you there.
10 to 15 is typical, depending on the aircraft and load.
Let's say 10 degrees. Okay, so here we go. When you're taking off from...
Just to clarify, do you understand that spherical coordinates has no concept of elevation in its coordinates itself?
I'm not talking elevation. I'm talking angle as we take off. All right, so
okay,
here you go.
You said elevation. Don't say that, because that has nothing to do with
go bearing 155 and take an upward angle of 10 degrees for a while, and then level. There you go.
Wait, say that one more. What was the initial orientation? You gave me two angles?
Yeah, 155 degrees and 10 degrees.
Good. Yeah, why are we arguing?
There you go. All right, then after you fly a whole bunch, then angle down at 10 degrees until you hit the ground.
Notice sky vector only represents it as one. That was my point.
That's when you and the reason why is because sky vector doesn't know what plane you're flying. Sky vector doesn't know what weight it is. It doesn't know how much fuel you're willing to expend. Sky vector doesn't know. It isn't taking into account the specific elevation that the airport does. It doesn't take into account any noise levels that are required in laws in the vicinity. Right? It doesn't care about that. So it says, look, pilot, you figure out what you need to do for the exact angle as you go up and down. Let that be part of the rest of your flight planning. Right? We'll help you get the angle, and then if you need to do waypoints, because that's another thing they do, right? They'll say, well, we need to stay, here's another airport. We want to stay away from this airport. So
I mean, that's a lot of stuff you're adding to sky vector, man. Are you a pilot?
I'm not a pilot, but I do know sky vector pretty well.
Well, I would argue that the two people that I've interacted with have not come to me with anything different than they're doing exactly what is actually on sky vector, and they only need a magnitude and one orientation to fly.
Absolutely, and that's my point. They only need They only need one angle, because the rest of it gets figured out differently in a different manner. They don't.
Sure,
Sky vector doesn't care about any of those things, because that's separate from when you're planning the flight. It's a different part of the flight planning.
Sure, so it's more indicative of a flat, but there's no proof here of all Earth.
This is solid proof, because the interior angles add up to 263 degrees. If it were flat and you took a straight flight between each of these, it would be 180 degrees, not 263 degrees. That's the key.
On sky vector?
Yeah.
Let's go through it.
What do you want to go through? Here it is.
Well, no, you're saying that those three angles there are
they add up to 263 degrees.
I'm gonna watch you, because I know you're gonna make a mistake. Keep going if you want. Let me see it.
I already measured it. I did it in November.
Okay, I'd be curious to watch you walk through that, because that might not work out well for you. But
okay. Well,
so you're saying right now we're looking at a 3D globe, right?
I'm saying that we're looking at a two-dimensional projection of the globe.
Okay, so then now we would have an interior angle add up to 180.
Yeah. So right here, this angle here.
So we can draw straight lines to all those points, right?
Yeah, right here we can use this to draw straight lines. Right. These are all.
The third one looks arcish.
What's that?
Look at the other one. Go zoom back out. I mean, there's an arc between it. You're not using those, right? Because we're gonna make an actual triangle.
I'm using great circle routes.
Okay.
Right. So great circle routes, when you're looking at it on a two-dimensional surface, depending on how you're positioning it looks different. Sometimes it's straight if you're looking from straight above, and it's curved if you've pushed it around to the edge. That's what you expect on a two-dimensional screen, right? Sky Vector doesn't use the globe model like Google Maps does. It uses a Mercator style projection.
But are we slicing a plane through those 3 points and looking at it in 2D? What are we looking at exactly? You see those 3 points there?
Yeah.
When we're now on Sky Vector, because it's like you said, a 2D, are we now taking a plane and slicing it through those 3 points and looking at that?
That's how you do a great circle route, yeah?
Okay, good. So then now those 3 routes need to then be projected down onto that plane, right? And then we would do the mathematics on it, correct?
You can just measure the angles between these circles.
Well, no, we have to project all those 3 black lines. Well, then if we take a plane through that and slice it and project it down, that's our new representation of that route on 2D, right? Then we can look at the angles and do different things about interior angles, right?
Yep. So
Okay,
here's spherical triangles.
But dude, just before you do that, I'll warn you, I don't think you should do this. But just so you know, when you do that, you are going to get a triangle. Just visually look at it. If you take a plane and slice it through those 3 points and project every single one of those points, those 3 black lines onto that plane, you're going to get a triangle. That's just geometry.
A spherical triangle. Absolutely.
Oh, dude, you're just visualize it, dude. I don't know how good you are with 3D. If you look at that. Actually, that's a good one right there. Let's say you then take a plane and put it through those 3 lines, and you project every single point of those red lines onto that plane. You're going to get a perfect triangle. It cannot not obey the sum of the interior angles is 180.
Actually, it will not.
It has to.
What you're looking at right here on Wolfram Alpha's, mathworld.wolfram.com, right? These 3 points here,
A, C, and B.
Yep.
Okay.
Each of those is taken off of the surface of that sphere. So that triangle could not be put onto a flat surface because each of those arcs will not lay flat.
No, but they have to lay flat. We're projecting that onto a plane.
No, not in reality. We're just doing it so that it works on a screen.
No, if we're going to then look at A, C, and B on a 2-dimensional surface, and we're gonna then you want to look at those angles, right? The interior angles, big A, big C, and big B, right?
Yep.
On a 2D plane, right? So when you do I understand your point. Just to clarify, A, C, and B, you're saying have these excess angles and it's greater than 180 degrees. Fair enough. That's a new thing that I learned. It's obviously not 180. No one here would say that. That's crazy. Now, if we take a plane and put it through A, C, and B and project every single point along A, C, and B, those arcs onto that plane, you have a triangle.
So if you're going to project it down, absolutely, but you're not any longer using the original lines if you're going to project it.
Of course, because we're in a new coordinate system. We projected it onto the plane.
But that's immaterial to the actual test.
That's the only accurate thing to do if you're going to now switch to a different coordinate system.
No, we don't need to switch to a different coordinate system. I'm perfectly fine staying in the 3-dimensional coordinate system here.
Sky Vector is whatever we're talking about. If we're going to go scrutinize the interior angles of 3 different points, we better be, and evaluate it against 180 degrees, we better be in 2 dimensions. We've already agreed that law only applies to 2 dimensions. Right. So we're going to then take this.
But it's on the surface, since we're sitting on the surface of a sphere, right?
Yeah.
Instead of sitting on a flat surface, we're not in a Euclidean coordinate system.
So we're going to take those 3 points and project them onto a plane.
Why would we project them onto a plane? We're sitting in here on the spherical.
We want to evaluate whether the interior angles are 180 or greater than.
Yeah, so we're going to stay on the sphere here and measure the angles. We don't need to go to a 2-dimensional plane to measure the angles.
Man,
right?
dude,
So this one here is a little over 90.
Why are you applying a rule that applies in 2D on a 3D
Because
ball?
that's how everybody does it. That's a normal way to go. There's nothing wrong with that. This one's a little less. So what you're doing is you're arguing against spherical geometry. That's fine. You can do that. That's a little silly, but go ahead. This one's less than 90.
That only applies in 2D on a 3D ball. No. if you want to apply that 2D triangle rule,
You're
some of the-
claiming that A, B, and C here on the Wolfram site cannot be measured. Then
it has to be projected onto a 2D
it
plane.
does not. You can measure dimension. You can measure angles in 3 dimensions on
can leave
spherical
it like that.
surfaces.
You can leave them like that, but the rule of 180 interior doesn't matter because we're not in 2D. That rule, unless you guys want to change mathematics.
And that is the exact point. Thank you. All right.
No,
that's
there's
enough.
no point.
We're going to move
Use that
on.
rule.
Jared, how you doing?
We're not
I've been ready for bed for like 2 hours now.
Victory for T-Mog on this one. You guys can try and get me back some other time. I'm sorry to do that to you, but I was Bob the Science guy. He's just
Team
a clown.
victory when you don't understand how planes depart and what's needed for their navigation, when you want to argue against types of geometry, when you don't even remember how RF communications work. What exactly did you win?
All right, don't open that one up, man.
No, I've never studied satellite communication in undergrad.
He didn't say satellite.
If you studied RF communications, then yes,
I'm telling you,
touched on it.
Told me
Because satellite communications just work in the upper frequency bands of RF communications.
No, but you were getting at more where the antenna was placed on the plane,
Yes.
like those nuanced things. Dude, that's new, man. I did not even know satellites were unidirectional, dude. I didn't know. I don't know. I was like, first, why are they not?
Then you haven't been paying attention for over a year, because this is not new information from me to you.
So no.
What speed do radio waves travel? You asked me this, dude.
When I told you, mind of God, when I told you that GPS is send only, you initially said no, it's not, and then our conversation drifted.
Well, no, I find it hard to believe. If that's, I mean, I don't believe that they exist the way you asked, the way you're telling me. So, but that would be surprising if they're only one direction. That seems why.
All right, and there's our problem.
I'm just telling. The only reason I mentioned that is that was new information.
Do you know? Do you know at this point? Did you even look it up? Like, do you know what they are sending? What data they're sending?
I mean, I'm assuming it's just their position, right? It's a packet that is giving. I don't know. Is it their position in a derivative? Like what direction they're moving?
No,
it's one more. It is one more piece of information. What would you need to triangulate if you needed, if you knew their position? And you're going to triangulate your position based on 3 or 4 or 5 of them. What other piece of information would you need to know?
Well, their position encompasses everything, right? How far away they are.
Their location in 3-dimensional space. Yep. And what other piece of information do they need in order to triangulate?
Multiple of them. We already have that?
No. One satellite sends 2 pieces of information, basically. What is that second? I'm trying to get you to figure it out, because I know you're smart enough. What do you think that other piece of information is, other than the 3-dimensional location?
I thought it would be multiple satellites.
Yes, multiple satellites are necessary. What does each satellite send?
Its coordinate, where it is.
And one other piece of information that's necessary for triangulation. What is it?
I don't know, it's direct, like what direction it's traveling?
No, it's an instantaneous point is all you need.
So it has its position in 3D space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now your phone receives from multiple satellites each satellite's position.
Sorry, the time. Yeah, the time. The amount of time. Yeah, sorry.
So it's the satellite's current time.
Right. I was going to say that the amount of time that the send and receive is happening, like a handshake kind of thing.
It's not a handshake. It's just a send.
Okay, but whatever.
So it sends the timestamp, and then it uses the timestamp. Your phone or whatever GPS device uses the different timestamps, because they're all going to be different.
Yeah.
To triangulate, just like when you triangulate the epicenter of a earthquake.
It's using that time for a handshake, by the way. Because it needs to know that the distance
there's no handshake. Your cell phone cannot send a signal strong enough to get to the satellite.
I'm telling you, when it sends the time, this phone knows when it received it. It's gonna now know what that delta is, and then know the position, and then now we can start making some.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but no
not a
But
handshake.
you said handshake. That's where
Sorry,
I'm
I mean,
getting
maybe I'm
hung.
using the wrong term. My bad. Yeah, sorry. I mean,
Okay.
whatever. It has an understanding of that difference.
All right. So you can get 3 gives you a rough, 4 gives you a good solid position, 5 is what they like to have.
Apparently, for this drone, it's 13, which that's
No,
how much. That's how
I
they
think
get to that
13 is actually the number, the total number of satellites. This is when they say they're using the 13 GPS satellites, they're using all of the GPS satellites, and I could be wrong on that, but you any one place you don't get typically 13.
I just don't see why you guys should be all about this GPS for the flat Earth test, right? Because it's your stuff, right?
Absolutely,
We can't screw it up.
and we've used it a whole bunch, but you just don't like it.
But promise me you guys will not take me down this Bob the Science Guy, because I just schooled you guys on spherical geometry. I don't want to do that again. I've already been bamboozled by Bob the Science Guy. I don't want to do that again. You cannot apply that rule of 180 degrees unless you're on a 2D surface. Please don't.
It only
Don't-
works on a sphere. That's the point.
No, that 2D that 180 rule only applies on 2 dimensions,
All
man.
right, I will link this. I will even email it to you so that you can look at and read the article on Wolfram's website.
Dude, I know what that. I was helping you guys. You can't. trick us like
were.
that.
This was a new concept for you today.
No, it wasn't.
Spherical triangles and spherical excess
This
was a new
conversation
topic for you
worked
today.
What I told Bob about, because he was trying to use the angles on the sphere, and then say, "Oh, look at these. They don't add up to 180." I'm like, they're not supposed to, man. You're not on a 2D surface. You're trying to apply 3D taken from a 3D object onto a 2D thing. That's not first of all, it's stupid, and then it's not a proof of any kind. I told him you shouldn't do this stuff for me, because I'm gonna go and make you look bad after that. So don't do stuff like that.
Dora Necu, did I get that right? People have been quoting from the movie Airplane. Jared, have you do you like to watch gladiator movies? Have you ever been in a Turkish prison? And so Dora says, I guess I chose the wrong week to stop sniffing glue.
Yep.
Are these inside jokes?
This from the movie Airplane.
Okay.
Pop culture references.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Okay.
we're gonna move on here. I gotta go.
All right, man.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate
Mind
it.
of God. Who was the other guy in here before?
Red.
No, Reds, of course. Yes, Reds. No, I mean Earth is seriously flat. I mean Antonio Banderas. I mean Puss in Boots. Thank you for joining, everybody. And man, what do I say? I'll see you next time. You'll see me. All right, bye.
Peace.